Hello and welcome back to Wi-Fi Friends with my friend John Johnsick.
Howdy, sir.
How are you doing, my friend? How's it going?
Excellent. We just moved into the new apartment,
Ooh,
which
fancy.
has it's not so fancy. It has its own host of politely say issues
mm,
that we
mm,
are working through.
Fair enough. I think that it's kind of a given now. I think most times where people move into a new place, it's always well, it's like when you're buying anything. It's like you buy something, you see all the good parts before you buy it, and then it isn't until after you bought it they go, oh yeah, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this.
Yeah, yeah. Or they say like, "Hey, it's gonna be renovated," and then it's renovated, but then you get there and they're like, you're 90% sure that they didn't finish. That they just kind of wanted to get you in there, even though they weren't 100% done, but they didn't want to tell you that they weren't done yet.
Yeah, it's making me think actually of have you ever seen the movie Blazing Saddles?
Yes.
So you know the scene in by the way, just side story, that movie is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Like it's one of those things where I watched it as a kid with my dad, and because of that, I don't think any movie will ever beat it because I can't like go back and erase that
Yeah,
memory of
after that.
watching it.
Exactly.
So anyway, but there's a scene in Blazing Saddles for anyone who hasn't seen it where they're trying to confuse these people that are gonna come and destroy the town. So what they do is a little bit like further down the road. So on the way to the town, they build a fake town, which is just like like really pretty looking billboards propped up to look like the town.
Yeah.
And when they get there, all the people are fooled and they think they're there. And it just reminds me of that when he said that, where he just goes, "Yeah, they renovated as much as they made it look nice, but then when you get
Yeah.
there, all the walls fall down."
The billboard just collapses and you're like, "Oh." Yep,
um,
basically what happened.
yeah, moving is never fun, dude. Even if it's moving to somewhere amazing, it's just like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Are
We
you
got rid
all
of so
moved
much
in?
stuff. Yeah, we've got all of our stuff here.
Oh
We've
wow.
moved a lot of it. So it's like very empty in here because we got rid of a lot of stuff that I got rid of a lot of books, which is really hard for me to do
Oh, tell me about it.
because I'm a very sentimental person, but I realize that like as much as I love those books, I don't pick them back up and reread them a
Yeah,
lot.
that's the
I
rule,
do it
man.
once in a blue moon, but like so I just got rid of a whole bunch of them. I'll probably go to move to, just doing a full digital library or whatever.
Yeah, and it makes me sad, but like in my brain, I know it's right. Like I've got two places for my comics, specifically my comics, right? So I've got my trade paperbacks, which are in this one little cabinet that's about it's about like knee height, so I can just grab them out when I see one that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't read this for a while. I use them for reference a lot as well because when I'm writing like films and stuff, I like to pull from comics. I just think it's an
Yeah.
interesting like place that people don't pull from enough. Saying that, there's like a million comic book movies, but I just mean
Yeah.
like camera techniques as well. Like artists are pretty good at giving inspiration for that. So I'll pull my trade paperbacks all the time. I'll just pull them out. I don't have many. I only have like one row of them, but I'll just pull them out to look at them and read them. Some of them I reread a bunch, like stuff like Teen Titans. I'll read all the time because
Yeah.
I'm a Beast Boy and Raven fan.
Who isn't?
But then the other side of the room, on my like DVD bookshelf, right at the bottom of my DVD bookshelf, like I've got this big open space with just all my issues, like all the issues I've
Oh,
picked up
yeah.
over time. I know at some point they need to go, but I just can't like, bring myself to do it because I've lived here now for over a year, like probably a year and a half, and I haven't picked an issue up.
Yeah. Yeah. The single issues are definitely something that I'm just like, just bite the bullet, get rid of them, unless it's like something that, because it's a weird thing, because there are like indie comics where I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I want to kind of keep the singles of these that are like super indie,
yeah,
like Red Knight and stuff. But then there's like stuff where I'm like, why do I have the entire story arc of the War of the Green Lanterns, every single issue from the four Green Lantern books that it crossed over, when I could just buy the trade paperback?
dude, I totally like. So one of my favorite runs of all time is Marv Wolfman's first Deathstroke run. Like, he wrote him loads and loads because he created the character in the Teen Titans books, and he kept bringing him back because he loved the character of Deathstroke, and he kept bringing him back. He was a constant villain. But then, like, a bunch of stuff happened with Teen Titans. I'm not sure if he was still writing at the time, but he was like, I want to do more Deathstroke. I want to flesh him out. So he started a Deathstroke run. It was the first ever, like, proper Deathstroke run. Marv Wolfman wrote all the comics. He wrote it for ages and ages and ages. There's like a first arc, and then the second arc, he goes to Gotham and he fights Batman.
Oh,
So it's awesome. It's like comic book made for Cameron. Like, it's the thing that
yeah,
made me fall in
exactly.
love with Deathstroke. Um, so I have it all in issues, and I constantly talk, like, when people always go to me, I sometimes get people coming to me because of the movies and stuff now, and he's in Arrow, but also, like, spoilers, he's also in another movie that came out recently for a brief
Yeah,
amount of time. Um,
for 5 seconds.
yeah. So I have a lot of people coming up to me being like, oh, I'm a Marvel fan, but Deathstroke seems cool. Like, where do I start? And I always talk about this run. And then I remember the other day, I haven't read it in about 3 years because it's in issues. And, like, I just
Yeah,
don't pick issues up. I think issues, I'm torn on them because, like, I love it when you first buy an issue and you haven't read the story before. You flip through it and you're like, oh, this is awesome, especially with it, like you said, with an indie comic. Like, when you get the first issue of, like, Red Knight and I flipped through it, or, like, Willpower. I remember back in the day, I got the first issue of Willpower and it was signed and everything. But, like, you don't pick them back up. I don't know what it is about
no.
issues. You just don't want the hassle of reading through all this.
And like, especially when it comes to moving, like books are heavy, and especially because we're trying to go, like, trying to move to more minimalist
Yeah,
style,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Trying to keep things organized and not have too much clutter and stuff. It's all about like a Zen mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
As my heart jumps out of my chest because my daughter just banged against the door.
She's got to keep you on your toes, man. She's keeping you
Yeah,
young.
yeah. Oh, another side check because I think we've already sidetracked
That's
three
fine, dude.
times in this intro. Have you read the Deathstroke book that I got you?
I'm reading through it. I'm reading through it. So it came. I know I thanked you for this, but I want to thank you in person as well,
Oh,
as in person as I can get. I've been out of the Deathstroke loop for so long because he started back up in the New 52 and he had his armor and stuff, and I read it for about
yeah,
I don't know, 7 issues. Again, going back to issues, they're still on my shelf. I have no
yeah,
idea where, but like I read it for about 7 issues. But it was very much like it was just a mercenary comic. He's just
yeah.
hunting people. So I kind of dropped it for a bit, and I know he'd gone through a bunch of different hands, but like again, just like jumping back in and buying issues, it wasn't something that was interesting me. So when I opened the package and I saw his fucking face, and it wasn't just Deathstroke's face, it was his balaclava. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
big metal mask. It was a balaclava. I was just so excited because I was like, "Oh, dude, he's back!"
Yeah, that's the DC Rebirth title.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
Which this one's supposed to be a lot more about like Deathstroke's family,
yes.
and
So it
all the kids are
addresses.
back in it.
Well, that's the thing that it like immediately grabbed me. So I had it, but I was halfway through like a Darth Maul comic or something. And with comics, I can never read two at the same time, or it spins me out. Like I'm expecting lightsabers to show up in Deathstroke otherwise. So I was reading the Maul comic. I finished it finally recently, and then I picked up the Deathstroke one. And the first thing that you see is you get a flashback to before he's Deathstroke, when he's just in the military, and he comes
Yeah.
home. Um, and he takes Grant and Jason um, on like a is it Jason? What? It's Jason,
Um.
right?
Uh.
I can't I shouldn't be asking
No,
you.
it's darn it. Ja, ja.
Oh my god!
Does he
How
have
do I
the
not
weird,
know
like, kind of
this?
religious name?
Yes. Oh my god! I'm losing all of my
He was a
Deathstroke
Teen
cred now.
Titan. He was like one of the characters. Oh my lord. He used to be a Teen
Deathstroke
Titan.
kids. There's like millions of them. There's obviously like
Grant, Rose,
Grant. Judas was his superhero name, I think. Oh my god, I cannot believe
Joseph?
this. Joseph. Oh.
Is it
Oh,
Joseph?
strip me of my orange and black stripes.
I'm just
It
like,
is
I think,
Joseph. It's totally
okay.
Joseph. It's it's Grant, Joseph, and then later Rose. But so
Yeah.
so so he's taking Grant and Joseph out to like a camping trip, and now this is something that like even in the old Destro comics, it's alluded to, but they don't really talk about it. Is like he's such a bad parent. Like he's
Yeah.
even before he gets the powers and he turns into the Terminator. Like and that's not a joke. For those who don't know, he's called the Terminator. He's got two
He's
names.
Deathstroke the Terminator.
Yeah. So he's a bad dad. I mean, he's the guy that slits Jericho's throat and like makes him lose his voice. Like
Yeah.
so, he's not a good dad even before he's Deathstroke. So like they address that in the comic, and the first scene is quite shocking because usually when you get like a villain, but like he's the title character, they try to humanize him and they try to be like, oh, he's sympathetic, like let's get him on his side. But this starts with him being a terrible dad and being like an arsehole, and then it skips to him being Deathstroke, and already you've got
Yeah.
the tone of like, oh well, this guy's just not. It reminds me kind of when you read, do you ever read Joker by Brian? Is it
Brian
Azzarello?
Azzarello?
Yeah.
No, I never did.
So that comic, like, it never tries to make you feel for the Joker, You're just kind of watching him and, like, being like, what is he going to do next? And this comic is very much like that, where you're just like, it's a bit more, like, empathetic, but you can
Yeah.
never get sympathetic. You're always at that hand's distance of being like, you don't feel like he can really resolve himself of the sins. It's just like,
Yeah.
what is he going to do next, and is he going to turn and be a bit of a better person? But like, so you see him as a dad, and he's got the blonde hair and everything, which is cool to see. And he hasn't got the eye patch. And then he skips ahead to him as Deathstroke. And when they saw him standing there, and he's standing there, and he's got the like balaclava because it's like tucked behind, he's not wearing it yet, and he's got his costume, and there's no armor, there's just him there with a sword and a gun. I was just like, I hate to be in like elitist. I think characters should grow and develop, but there's just something about Deathstroke where he's just like, no, I don't need armor. I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
I'm just a dude in a ninja costume with giant boots. Like, that's all I need.
That's all I need.
It just made me so happy, and I was just reading it. I was just like, it just feels. He's just one of the characters. Maybe this should have been my topic, but like, he's just one of those characters where I really think that I don't know. I feel nervous whenever he's in the hands of someone other than like Marv Wolfman or Brian. It wasn't Brian. Who did Identity Crisis again?
That was Brian Meltzer.
Yes, you are so fucking good. Sorry.
I'm on the ball
Yeah,
today,
you
I
are.
think.
I'm
I
just
think
gonna
it's Brian
field you more
Meltzer, yeah.
questions. It's like a quiz, John. Yeah. Metzler, like he and Wolfman, they just write my favorite type of Deathstroke, and I'm always nervous when he's in the hands of someone new. So when I started reading this comic and I saw that this guy kind of got him, I was like, yes, and especially the artist, like the artist is killing it. I don't want to go on and on about a book that most people probably haven't read, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that like, I mean, you asked me the question, but also like, Deathstroke's very much one of those characters for me where I'm very nitpicky about him. Like, he has to be a certain
Yeah.
way, in a way that Batman isn't. Like with Batman, I'll watch any type of version of Batman, Whereas Deathstroke, I'm like, oh, they're doing this with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we can move past. I was going to talk about Valentine's Day, but like, I don't know. Are you doing are you a Valentine's Day person? It's not a very like. I think it's becoming less and less of a celebrated thing because it's a bit.
Yeah,
more...
we're not super like Valentine's Day people.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a. I think people are recognizing that it's kind of just like, you can do your own days.
Yeah.
Each couple has their own kind of thing.
We might like go on a date maybe if we're not working, but
Yeah. Well, that was the weird thing. Like this year was probably the first year, and it's probably just a thing of growing up and realizing you need to prioritize your time. But like, I didn't book it off work or anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a solid plan for it. It's like you, where I'm like, oh, we'll probably if I don't think either of us are working. Maybe Jen's working in the day. But it's like, if we're free, we'll do something.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. If not, well,
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know, like I'm putting a lot of effort into the gift. But as I'm doing it, I just think maybe I see it more as like just an excuse rather
Yeah.
than an obligation. I think that's probably the best way to see it. Because a lot of people that don't like it, they're like, oh, you're obligated to do something. You should be doing something, every other time. Which I see where they're coming from. But like also, it is an excuse. If you're seeing it as like something that you have to do, like if I was like, oh, Jen's gonna be mad at me if I don't do Valentine's Day, that might be a little bit silly. But like, I do like the excuse to do something fun and to do
Yeah,
something
of
sweet.
like, you know what? This is coming around the corner. I have an out to spend some money and do
Yeah,
something nice.
yeah, and like I like making stuff as well. Like it's it's really silly because like I always feel like I can never afford the things that would be really really good. You know, even though she likes DVDs and stuff. But I'm always like, if I can't, buy something that's like, really, really good, that's gonna wow, because like I don't have loads of money, then
Yeah.
I may as well just make something. So I always default to like mixtapes and stuff, which is really cheesy,
Oh,
but it's
mixtapes are good.
it's good as well because you can like you can. There's a certain amount of, and we were talking about this last episode with fan fiction. There's a certain
Yeah,
amount of art to manipulating other people's art. If you get what I'm
exactly. Yeah,
saying.
there's an intimacy to it.
Yeah, it's like when you take something that someone else has done, and find a way to recontextualize it. Like in the case of a mixtape, like taking a bunch of songs that were written by different artists, and like putting them into an order where you go, oh shit, this actually works as a cohesive piece, and it means something to our relationship. I think that's
Yeah.
it's pretty fun. A lot of people find it cheesy, and I honestly it is cheesy, but I kind of like that about it.
Yeah.
you know?
It's another plus.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something weird, but I totally get it when I talk to couples and it's just become it's more of an older couple thing. Older, we're fucking 23.
Yeah, I
We
know,
talk
believe
like
me.
dads. I mean, you are a dad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am a No,
Oh my god,
there's
that's
this
funny.
meme, this meme on the internet.
Yes, the
Um,
internet.
the internet, as the kids call it, where you know how some people call their friends their dad friend or their mom friend,
Yeah,
their
yeah,
friend
yeah.
who like takes care of everyone. Well, there's a new thing. It's called your grandpa friend. They always talk about how they're tired or their back hurts, and they always say things like they talk about the kids and people and they're like in their 20s. I was like, wow, I felt like this was like directed directly at me.
Oh my god, that's funny. So it's funny because you became a dad, a legit dad, which means you can't be the dad friend anymore. You need to ascend.
Yeah. I ascended to a higher plane, the grandpa friend.
Oh my god. I'm so I mean I know you were offended by it. I hope you weren't offended by it, but like I did not think when I said we're such dads. Like it just hit me. I was like I can't use that. I mean I can, but like you have an excuse. Like you can go around making dad jokes and people won't look at
Oh
you
yeah,
weird.
that's my favorite thing. I have this sweater that's a cardigan. I call it my dad again.
Oh god. The dad cardigan is itself a dad joke.
Yes.
Um
It's a wonderful mastery of woven fabric.
just dad jokes. Every dad joke is just sewn into the the stitches.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we may as well jump into current faves then, because I think we had the curse of, well, not the curse, but the gift of doing this pretty recently after the next one.
I
Um,
know, for
so we,
the
we
first time in forever.
yeah, we haven't got like a shitload to talk about. What have you been currently chewing on creatively? What have you been enjoying?
Um, so one I'm going to be very short on
Okay.
because we talked about it last episode, but I did get Batman season one.
Oh, yes. I
I
knew
am
this is the
four
first follow
episodes
up.
in. Yeah, right? I'm 4 episodes in.
Okay.
Um, I've already made some decisions that I regret. I thought I was doing the right thing. Turns out I wasn't.
Yeah. I
I got screwed over bad.
I wonder if there are any 100% right decisions in that game.
I'm
Like,
sure I think because of how the narrative goes, it's almost impossible.
well, I think the thing I appreciate about the game, and I think you'll understand this, but because you're pretty deep in now, like you've almost finished season
Yeah.
one. I think what is cool about the game is you can never really please all of the characters. There's no
Yeah.
way to please everyone, which I think is pretty realistic. A lot of these games, like there's a perfect run. Like Undertale, there's the
Yeah.
perfect run and stuff like that. I think there's not really a thing in this game because it's just like you're gonna
And
have to mess someone over to appease
well, and
someone
that's the
else.
great thing is that I feel like sometimes with these games you made someone mad once, they hate you forever and you can never make
Yeah,
that right again.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can flip-flop back and forth. Like I'm pissing off and making Alfred or Gordon happy like every 2 seconds. Like
Yeah.
it's great. I really enjoy it. Okay, let's go into quick spoilers because I have to talk about some
Yeah,
decisions.
we can talk about spoilers.
I sided with Vicky Vale, not knowing
Okay.
she turns into Lady Arkham.
So this is something I wanted to talk to you about because when we first talked about this, you brought up the fact that you were like the canon, like what canon is it? And I thought
Yeah,
the two things, the Vicky Vale thing and the parents thing, the Bruce's
yeah,
parents. I thought those two things were such unique and fun changes to the canon. It almost makes it a completely new Batman to me.
it does. And it really, I felt like this game was smart at it knows that you have expectations coming in.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
You know who Vicky Vale is, you know who Harvey Dent is. So my dumb brain, I'm like, all right, well, the main reason I started with Vicky Vale was because I was like, all right, power of the press, I'm all
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's go that way. But I was siding with Harvey a lot because I'm like, all right, I know he becomes Two-Face, but maybe, just maybe, I can do it. I can fix him. And I didn't.
I all right. So have you been to? I really don't want to spoil stuff. Have you been to Arkham yet?
Yes, I just got out of Arkham.
You
I'm
just got out
outside
of
of Arkham.
Arkham. Okay. So you've met someone. Um, you've met someone
Yes,
called
John
Joe.
Doe.
John.
God,
Oh,
I really
dude.
love this interpretation.
I love it. I love how it plays out. Now, I'm not going to spoil season two for you. I'm about halfway into episode two. But I am making a huge mistake, right? So I enjoyed the Harvey aspect. I'm not going to spoil because obviously you haven't finished this season, but there is a lot more to the Harvey aspect, and there are a lot more decisions you can make. But Harvey, to me, felt like a perfect villain to start with because, everyone, like you said, they have expectations of where he goes, but there is an amount you can talk to, and they deal with stuff like, all right, have you been in Selena's apartment yet?
See, yes, so I hated that situation. Oh, that pissed me off because I did not romance Selena.
Okay, okay, interesting.
I said, nope, get away from me, she devil. I don't need this. You're moving way too fast. I don't even like you like that. I felt like their platonic friendship was
Such
much
a
more
dad.
interesting than a romantic one. And then they're in their underwear, and fucking Harvey Dent walks in, and he's like, "You two had sex?" And I'm like, "No, bro, we didn't." But then he got mad at me still, even though I'm like, "Dude, like,
Yeah. So there is.
Bruce, why do you walk around a random woman's apartment in your underwear? Huh? What, you don't know her? Do you just go over to friends' houses and walk around in your underwear all the time?"
What I love about that scene, and again, I don't know if it happened for you. It probably did because it doesn't feel like it would affect the choices. But like my Bruce just wanted some bagels. He just wanted some bagels. He goes straight to the fridge. He's getting the bagels and the cream cheese.
I got the cream cheese and bagels too.
I love that. It was such a break from the tone of the whole game. It was like, I just gotta get those bagels. But yeah, so yeah, that'll play out differently for me because I romance Selena. I'm a bad friend. Uh, I just, I just really like Catwoman and Batman. It plays on, like you said, it plays on your fandom. It plays on what you want to happen in the world and what you don't want to happen. And for me, I knew it was a bad idea to romance Selena, but I'm also a huge fan of that relationship in the comics.
Yeah,
So I made the terror, and like what's cool is sometimes in life you don't make the right decision. You do, like
exactly.
you kiss the wrong person. I've never done that. I just want to say for the record,
Yeah,
but like it does
for the
happen.
record.
So yeah, it was interesting, and like the reactions are different because I then had to make the decision of whether or not I lie to him and say that I didn't when I did, or if I be honest with him. And you had to convince him that you didn't because you definitely really didn't, but he doesn't
And it
believe
doesn't
you.
work. It doesn't work. He still attacks.
Yeah. So what then becomes interesting is that scene becomes less about whether or not Harvey is gonna attack you. It's more about how you deal with that. And I don't know how you ended that scene, but I managed to get through to Harvey, and he apologizes, and he's like, I need to seek help. I need to get help. So like they take it the kind of alley crime alley.
So he started attacking,
Yes.
and I just ducked and dodged
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
and tired him out. Until he was like, "All right, I'm gonna leave," and then that didn't really work out either.
Well, it's interesting because like you can see the route that he's going, and he's clearly got like issues in his head, but you can like there are lots of lines where it's not so much like don't become Two-Face, but it's more like get help for it and do the right thing and do this, do that. So like it's I don't know. I don't want to spoil things, but like there's little things you can do and it can change the outcome of stuff. But I'm not going to get into too much
I hope
spoilers.
so, because every situation I've been on, I've had his back. Except for the one time when the only real choice was to pull your funding, because you were still kind of like under the effects of the drugs.
Yeah.
But I have one quick question,
Okay.
because I said I was going to go short on this, but I didn't. Arkham Asylum,
Yes.
did you stop the riot, or did you let it happen and go to the phone?
I tried to stop the riot. Yeah.
I went to the phone like an asshole.
See, it just happens, man. You just gotta.
Yeah.
Well, like everyone has their own justifications for what they do, and to be fair, like in that scene, it's awkward because like, they are criminals. It's like Victor Zsasz is like. What's interesting though, and what I wanted to point out, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I just wanted you to know that you'd met John because, like, I didn't want to spoil that. That's such a good reveal.
Yeah. It's so good.
It really messes you up because I started season 2, and I hope it's not a spoiler to say that John is in season 2. Like,
No. That's a given.
So like, I started season 2, and I sat down and I didn't know why I said this to myself, but I was like, I am going to help fix the Joker. I give myself the impossible task. So I'm like,
I owe him a favor. I am so scared
it
about what
comes
this favor's
back,
gonna
dude.
be.
It comes back, and like you get these scenes where you're making choices. I don't know about you. I don't know how sympathetic you are to this version of the Joker. I'm very sympathetic. I think they did a really good job of it, of really.
I really enjoy him.
Yeah, and in season 2, you find out more about the type of Joker he is and where he is in his life, and it's very different to canon. So I'm talking to him, and I find myself making these decisions where I'm like, why am I siding with the fucking Joker? Like, what am I doing? But you keep doing it because he's such a charming guy, and you just think you can help him, and all of a sudden I feel like one of those people that are just like, yeah, I know he doesn't text me back or call me, but just I want to help him, I want him to be a better person.
That's my favorite thing about this is like, because there are different ways to play these types of games, obviously.
Yeah.
There is I'm a good guy, so I'm going to make all the good guy choices.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, as morally ambiguous as these games get, there is very much this is the right thing to do, and this is the wrong thing to do.
A lot of times there is, yeah.
A lot of times. Not every situation, but a lot of situations. There is all right, what would Batman do? Putting yourself in Bruce Wayne's mindset.
Yeah.
And then there is okay, what would I do if I was Batman? Which I feel like I tend more towards that route of like, all right, well, if I'm in this situation, like, really, there's no reason for me to kill Falcone. Like, I mean, sure, he said some shit about my dad, but like, that's not really enough for me to murder him. So no, I'm not going to murder him.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because that's very much, I got that sense as well of like, there is some decisions which are the good guy and bad guy decision, which is like killing Falcone. Like that there's no way I think where you could justify killing him. And there are more nuanced decisions as well, and season 2 ramps it up because they really want you to decide whether or not you are out for like your personal justice or justice in the broader sense, like in a police sense and improving justice, I guess. But what I'm saying is like you do get into that point where you have to struggle between what would I do and what would I want Batman to do, And sometimes I mess that up because, like, especially in the Selena scene, like, I personally don't think I would, even if like she wasn't, dating my best friend, I don't think I would like this random strange woman who's in a catsuit.
Exactly, but you're like, oh, but Batman would.
Yeah, but Batman would, and I would love to read a comic where Batman did this and messed up his relationship with Harvey because it would be interesting. So then I do it, and then I'm like, what am I doing? It is you get this kind of like instant regret that doesn't really happen anywhere outside of real life. Like and
that's especially when I'm Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I don't think about, okay, how'd Bruce Wayne handle the situation? I'm like, okay, how I would. So a lot of times I roll over when I'm Bruce Wayne.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like let people roll. I like Falcone. I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'll shake his hand.
Oh yeah,
I'll
dude.
say, I'll say whatever he wants me to say because I don't care about because I don't care about Falcone's opinion of me. I can make it. What if he thinks that I'm some sniveling brat who'll do whatever he says? Cool. You know why? Because when I put on that mask, I'm out. I'm eating his lunch.
Yeah, and you also like it's fun because it like puts you in a situation where you go, oh man, Bruce Wayne has to deal with all this. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, he came into my house, right? And yeah, okay, he wasn't invited, but he walked in. It was a party, and he's Falcone. He probably thinks he's hot shit. So I was like, yeah, I'll shake his hand. I just don't want to fight. So I'll shake his hand, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's what I would do in real life if someone like, if I was having a birthday party in like a club, and then all of a sudden some guy I didn't know came in and was like, "Hey, how's it going? It's your birthday?" I'd be like, "This is a bit weird, but okay, I'll shake your hand just to avoid
Yeah.
conflict." All of a
But then
sudden,
literally
the
everyone in the
next
world's
day,
like,
everyone's like, "Cameron, I can't believe you shook that guy's hand at your party. What do you mean? Why is that a bad
he's a
thing?"
mass murderer. Whoa. Well, I mean, he just came to my party.
Yeah, like
I didn't invite
it's
him.
not my responsibility. I'm sure he's shaken a lot of hands in his time.
But if this conversation says anything, Batman Telltale is amazing. I need to finish it, then go buy season two.
Yeah, I'm really struggling with season two because every time I play, it's like split into like little like scenes, I guess you would call them,
Yeah.
where like you play a scene and then it goes to black and it saves, and then you play another scene and it saves. I'm like playing a scene at a time because I'm
Yeah.
really worried about it. Season one I blasted through. I played it in like 3 sit-ins, just because I really was interested in this new canon.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in the new canon, I'm just like I just want to hug all of these people. I just want to hug them and keep them safe. I want Gordon to be happy. I want
Yeah.
Alfred. I just want to oh dude. And there's things that you can't prevent. Obviously, there's things in these games you can't prevent.
Yeah.
But I think they reinforce this game in the sense that they show you how little control Bruce has over some things, and the
Yeah.
things you can't prevent in season two are really, really hard to cope with, and it's hard
Uh,
to decide how to deal with the aftermath. But yeah, like you said, we should maybe get into the main ones because I want to hear what your current favorite, other than the one we talked about for so long.
oh, geez. So besides Batman, going a different route than we usually do, um, streamers.
Oh wow, interesting. You're
Yeah.
trying to change it up, dude.
Um, I know. So there's Maximilian Dude.
Okay.
He does fighting games and video games and stuff like that. I've been following him for a long time,
Yeah.
and I've just always loved it. He streams most of the nights. He's been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball Z Fighter or Dragon Ball Fighters, both games that I'm really interested in. And the more I watch, the harder it is for me to make a choice of which one I want to go, I want to go to.
I would well, that is tough, dude. I really like streamers, but I've never I don't know. I more watch the VODs. Like I'm such a
Yeah,
YouTube guy. Like most of my life I've been watching YouTube and stuff on demand. And like I never really watched much live stuff unless it was like cartoons when I was a kid. And
yeah.
even then I got the DVDs, so like I could watch them whenever I wanted. So streaming is such a weird thing. I kind of have to reteach myself how to like be on time for something. Like
Well, that's the nice thing is I don't feel any sort of commitment to a stream
yeah.
because they're just kind of going. And
Mm.
so a lot of times, I'll get a notification, hey, they started streaming, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I might pop in for an hour or two, and then I do something else, whatever. Or sometimes, because a lot of times they'll archive it or post it on YouTube later.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just I don't know, the community aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying. One thing that I really like about Twitch, that I don't think we really have here on YouTube is the idea of like it's not numbers, it's the interaction.
Yeah,
Like you can have a streamer who I don't know has like 100 viewers every night, like 100 people always come and watch his stuff, and then you'll have like a couple other people that'll drop in and out whenever they want. Like you said with the people that you like. Um, but if they have 100 who really like them and will always chat, they build a community, and then
yeah,
that community of people are always active. Whereas on YouTube, it's quite a passive thing because there's no like real time chat. So whether or not you comment, like I'm subscribed to like, I don't know, like 60 people maybe. Like,
I don't know. I'm so many.
yeah, but like
And I
the amount
watch
of
like
time like
3 or 4 people.
yeah, the amount of time I comment on people's YouTube videos is like very rare unless they really
Yeah.
impressed me or asked me a question that I thought I had an answer to, you know? Whereas in Twitch, like you're almost like constantly just saying stuff, saying stuff, saying stuff. So like in Twitch, I really appreciate that like and other streaming services are available, obviously. But Twitch, you know, there's like this idea of trying to build a community, and the streamer is like responding to you in real time. Like I have a
Yeah.
friend. IRL to say how the kids speak. I have a
And
friend in
it's
real life who she's a she's just recently got into Twitch streaming, but she was a big pro gamer back in the TF2 days when that was still a big game. So
TF2.
yeah, exactly.
Baby.
She immediately like brought this following that like used to follow her through there. So she already got this small following, and it's about like I don't know, like 30 people who watch her every night. But like even that's enough to like have the comments, chat. You know,
Yeah.
donations come in, subscriptions, follows. It's like on YouTube, you kind of put something out and you go, oh well, I got 100 views. I guess I'll move on to the next thing. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's weird.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
But yeah,
Just
so
it's cool.
those are my current faves, I think.
What are you leaning towards more yet? Is it you gonna buy Dragon Ball or Monster Hunter?
I think Monster Hunter. I
Really?
think, yeah, I think it looks like a great world,
Mm,
and it seems like something that's pretty easy to like if you want to solo, but then it's also there's a community there that wants to help people and wants to shepherd people in.
yeah.
And
I
so I feel like if I just made a poster or something somewhere, I could find a group of people or badger you enough to.
well, dude, my friend Jack. I know you've never spoken to him in your life. You might have seen him in a
You're
video or two.
which I'm sorry,
Jack Thomas.
which Jack
I have
is?
so many fucking friends called the same name. My friend Jack Thomas, he is so deep into Monster Hunter right now, and he's come to me. We were hanging out the other day, and we just sat
Getting
down.
those Rathian coins and
Sorry,
uh he's killing those Rathians, you know?
dude, I don't even know. I'm so scared of the game because we sat down, and like I can't remember what we were doing, but we just sat down at the PlayStation, and he just instinctively loaded the game up. And then he was like, "What just happened?" And I was like, "You just loaded up Monster Hunter." And he goes, "I didn't even think about it." So like, I would err on the side and also I'm a huge a fighting game fan, and I love a tight fighting game, one that's like
Me too.
really, really, like, just feels good, you know. And Dragon Ball Z, I know literally nothing about Dragon Ball Z. I never watched the anime, but that game looks bananas. It looks
It
so
does look
good.
it looks so much fun, and it's got it's just Dragon Ball Z, which I love, but the thing is I've been watching Dragon Ball Super.
Okay, is that the new one?
So part of me is like, well, do I need the game because I get my Dragon Ball fix
Yeah.
through the show? And my thing is there are always like fighting games that I get really into. But I'm not good. Like I'm not good at them. I'm
No,
just not.
I have this reputation with my friends where I'll buy a fighting game. Like so the most recent one was Injustice 2. Bought Injustice 2, played through the story, played all the like extra. They've got these like cool like these alternate Earths. So you go to like Earth 4 and Earth 60, and you fight villains and heroes and stuff that are weird and stuff. So I played that for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah.
I loved that game, and I really got into it. I think I'm gonna pick it back up. Well, I've still got it, but like I'm gonna install it again into my
Isn't there a
PlayStation.
Ninja Turtle
Well, that's
DLC?
exactly why I'm playing it again. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna max out every single turtle and not play any other character. It was like Ray Palmer, the Atom. Oh, that's kind of cool. Enchantress. Yeah, I guess. The Ninja Turtles. Definitely installing that again.
Yeah.
But like my friend will come over who's played very little fighting games, like never played Injustice 2, and they'll just kick my ass. I'm just so bad because I try to go for the complicated, moves that I've spent ages learning, and they just button
Yeah.
mash and beat me.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's so hard.
but I love them though. It's like I can't get enough of them, and DBZ is probably the closest I've come to buying a fighting game based on something that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like it would be like me buying I don't know, Marvel vs. Capcom with not watched any Marvel movie or read a Marvel comic.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they look like good games, dude. And I think honestly, like the Monster Hunter one, you're probably gonna put the most time into because I feel with a
Yeah,
fighting game, it's so fast that like you play it, you play it, you play it, and then after like I don't know, for me it's like 2-3 weeks. It kind of slows down a lot because I've kind of played all the
yeah.
characters. Whereas Monster Hunter, you're gonna be hunting monsters for like there is so much to do.
And also, there's like this cute cat who's your sidekick,
Yeah,
and I'm kind of all about that shit. I am
yeah.
all about it.
I love a good pet in video games
Yeah, a good palico.
because you can customize everything about the cat as well, can you? Like you can
Yeah.
make it
So
100%
like,
like
I
customizable.
have two cats, so I'm like, which cat do I make it look like? Mentos? See, that's the hard.
The other cat is just staring at the screen like I can't believe this. You wouldn't want to fight alongside
Don't
me.
worry, I'll make a second character.
Oh, you made your human character look like a cat.
Yeah. What's your current fate?
Whew, that's a hard question. I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm stopping and starting, and like I'll get into that later with the topics. I talked about Black Lightning already, did I? Did we talk about Black
We
Lightning?
brought it up at the end of the last episode, but you hadn't caught up.
I'm just all right. I'll think of a proper current fate, but I just want to like 5 minutes just gush about Black Lightning because
Dude, that show is so good.
it's. I know I'm an episode behind because I'm in the UK, but like third episode is the Thunder. For those who know the comics, her name's Thunder. I don't know her actual name, but that's a superhero name. She just broke up with her girlfriend, so that's the episode I've seen. Have you seen episode 3? Have I just spoiled something?
No,
You haven't seen episode 3? Oh my god, I thought you were caught up. Oh, I'm so
it's
sorry.
okay. It's okay. I honestly like that relationship was so like not really fleshed out
Yeah, it
because it
kind of
was like,
sets
hey,
up
she's
the
a girlfriend,
breakup.
and then they just kind of hung out, and it's like, okay, cool,
Yeah, well, the
but
first.
they didn't seem like they were super into each other. So
Yeah, I think they were trying to set it up because, like, in the first time you see her, she's like complaining about, you don't come to meet my parents, and then Thunder is like,
yeah,
oh, well, I don't know. So it kind
and
of
then, like
teeters
you
off.
don't even know her name.
Yeah.
So I didn't think this relationship was really gonna last, but
Yeah, but I am still sorry for just assuming that you've seen it. But they really start
it's
like
okay. That show is so good,
it
though.
is though. It is. You have to watch episode 3 because there's this scene right where it deals with some of the things that come along with being a modern parent and being like especially a liberal parent, which I think
Yeah,
will like because I'm not even a dad, but the scene like made me think, oh wow, but like like it's not the stuff like they're teenage daughters, so it's not the stuff you have to deal with for anytime soon. Um, but like it was so interesting because they touched on this idea of like you and this is how I feel. I don't know about you, but like with Black Lightning, he really wants his kids to be super open with him, and he wants them to feel like they can say anything and they don't have to keep any secrets. Which on paper sounds like that's the way you want to do it and stuff. But like in execution, there are some
when
things
you
you
have to
just
have
don't
those
need to hear.
conversations, yeah.
So like his kids are super confident and comfortable, and then he has to sit there and go, "Oh my god." So I really think like aside from the amazing like way they handle race and sexism um and all these big issues, they also handle like family really well in the sense of like
Yeah.
you know it, if he is the best dad ever, which a lot I wouldn't say he's a perfect dad, but he is a pretty good dad. What are the consequences of being that kind of dad?
Yeah,
What are the
exactly.
consequences of being? What do you have to deal with that like emotionally unavailable dads don't have to deal with? So it's interesting, man.
And just the way the show uses music,
Oh
um,
yes,
even to a point that like I haven't researched this, but that's all original music, right?
I think a lot of it definitely there's a song in it where some guy goes, "Black Lightning's back."
Yeah, that's like the themes,
Yeah.
But then there's this one, like in the first episode, there's like a scene where they're jogging together as a family,
Oh, that's a
and
good song.
I was like, this song is eerily similar to the events that are happening in this show right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I want to figure out if they did have like original music composed.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a really well made show for like a
Yeah.
CW show. Which again, I'm not bashing CW. I really like their shows, but they feel
But
rushed.
comparatively,
Yes.
this
Yeah,
show
yeah,
compared to the Arrowverse,
yeah. The
like
Arrowverse.
Yeah, leaps and bounds.
Yeah, there's a
Even from
scene.
like the shows that I like, it's like complete, it's almost like a different playing field.
It feels more on par. It feels like DC is now competing with like the cinematic quality and the cinematography of, say, like a show like Daredevil, like where
Yeah.
the shots are thought out and there's reason for them. Like I always say, like when I'm trying to make something or when I'm talking about films, what separates a good film from a great film for me is it feels like there was a reason for everything. They didn't just go, oh well, this would be good. They thought about the reason. And in Black
Yeah.
Lightning, you get that. There's a scene where two characters are super uncomfortable, um, and you're looking at the scene from the point of view of where a security camera would be. Like in a room, like up
Ah,
in the corner. It's a really
yeah.
unique shot, and you kind of you're like, oh, I'm jarred by this, but then you feel the characters like unease, like they're being watched. And even though you're not actually looking through, it's not like zzz, zzz, it's not like making you seem like you're a security camera. Just being in that position of the room, you're just like, oh wow, I feel uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Which is something that, like in the Flash, they would have just two shot, just shot reverse
Yeah.
shots.
God, shot reverse shot, man. That is just everything today. It's just, oh,
I think it's interesting because it works well when it works well, but
yeah.
it's the default because it's so easy to do. So you have all these shows that do, like Daredevil does shot reverse shot when he's interviewing someone, but there's a
Yeah.
reason for it, and it feels like there's you're feeling this tension between these two characters, whereas you watch The Flash and it's like, can we show like Barry in any other angle, guys? like,
Yeah. There's an interesting, there's this great video. Have you watched Every Frame of Painting?
I've watched a couple of his videos because there's a lot of other YouTube as that are very similar, like essay writers, I guess, video essay writers.
Yeah, like Nerdwriter and
Nerdwriter especially, like I love Nerdwriter, and a lot of times they'll recommend a video that Every Frame of Painting did, so I'll go and watch that as well.
yeah, there's the one about like shot composition.
Okay,
And it's like referencing, I forget what the movie is, but it's like a detective thriller, a Korean detective thriller, I think.
is it like Old
Uh,
Boy or something
no,
like
it's not
that?
Old Boy. It's like actual like cop movie.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, more like a procedural, I guess. But and it's something that I also noticed with like wrestling, interestingly enough,
Okay.
comparing how WWE shoots things to how New Japan Pro Wrestling does.
Hmm.
Because WWE does a lot of close-ups and zoom-ins, and they very specifically place their cameras in very specific areas and moments to try and gather the most impact
Yeah,
from a situation.
yeah, I get what
They
you're saying.
think, oh, well, when a guy gets lifted and slammed down, if we zoom on that slam, it makes it more impactful.
Yeah, I think
And I think
it's
it does in certain situations, but
hmm.
then how New Japan does it, because they don't have as much production value and stuff, is a lot of times you get like a still camera and lots of moving action. So
Okay.
the camera won't be moving as much, or there won't be as much close-ups and stuff because they only have certain cameras. So you'll be seeing a lot of
Hmm.
movement in one frame.
Yeah, I
And
see what you're saying.
I realize I really enjoy that like style when the camera is placed in a very specific spot and you get to see, I don't know, it feels more alive
Yeah, it's almost like a
and not
ringside
just like stilted.
perspective.
Yeah,
Like I like the idea of, because it kind of adds to the like the illusion of that you're watching something as opposed to it
yeah,
being like I always like to say that like the wrestling is just a a soap opera for nerds, because it's like a
yeah,
soap opera which is really enjoyable, but we get all the fight in as well. But whereas
yeah,
you
exactly.
turn, I think if you were to have like you said, a more static thing, it feels more of like you're watching an event.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. I'll have to check that out actually. I haven't seen that video of his. Um, but other than Black Lightning, which I'm really enjoying, I've been, oh, dude, I don't know. I'm in a really weird place now where I'm watching all the, like we said, the Arrowverse shows and the Agents of Shield and everything weekly, and like I enjoy them, but I always come out like I feel like they trick me. I feel like it's like like a really good soft drink. Like you like the first sip, and then you
Yeah.
don't like the rest of the bottle, and then except the last sip makes you want another one. I don't know what they do. They're like geniuses to create these things, but like it's like that for me, where I'm like I see the intro for like an episode of Arrow, and I'm like dun 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 dun, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Arrow. I love Arrow. And then I can't remember what happens for the next like 40 minutes, but then the ending is really good, and I gotta click the next one.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels like the Diet Coke of TV. I don't know why I
Yeah,
want
and
to
then
watch
like
them.
after like and then it leaves like a bad aftertaste, so you're like, well, I gotta have another one to make this one feel not
Yeah.
especially Arrow. I like Supergirl, I like Flash. Um Supergirl's starting to do that thing though, that I hate when these shows do, which is they pair people up just because they're not currently in a relationship.
Okay.
They're like,
Yeah.
hey, let's just throw these two people together because they're not dating anyone right now,
Oh, I know who you're
and
talking
everyone
about.
needs to be in a couple for some reason. And I'm like, but there's
Yeah.
like no chemistry. Like the actors can make up chemistry. Yes, they're very good actors. They're very good at it. But like, really?
What
Why did
what's
we need this?
what's interesting is you have I don't think people care about spoilers for Supergirl. Um, the actors that
Uh,
you're referring to, who where are you now with Supergirl? Are you
uh, we're like one episode behind.
okay? So are you referring to Lena and
Lena and Jimmy,
James?
yeah, or
So
James Old.
yeah, sorry, the new mature James Olsen. um, Lena doesn't need to be in a relationship ever. She's not a character
No,
that needs to be in a relationship. There's no benefit for putting her in a relationship.
yeah,
And
especially not with like we don't know what we're doing with him, James Olsen, who, as
yeah,
much as I love that actor, the weird like vigilante route he went down, and now he's not really doing that anymore.
dude, he showed
And it's
up in the costume again, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I forgot about this. I
I
forgot.
forgot how much I did not like that costume or him being a superhero.
Jen and I really enjoy that show, because as much as I do agree that it is very much a CW show in the sense that they don't think a lot about how it's shot, and it's kind of
It's still
it,
so good.
it's filmed. It almost feels like it's filmed 4 weeks before it goes out. I might be even right about that. Like it's very rushed. But what I really appreciate is the acting and
Yeah,
a lot of the writing. I think there are some
yeah,
bits of writing that is a bit shoddy, but like the topics they deal with is just so much more interesting than some of the stuff they deal with on the other CW shows. Like there was an episode of Arrow that dealt with gun violence in a really mature
I've
way.
heard about how bad that was.
Like,
Oh, was it not good,
well,
or was it?
here's the thing, right? It was in a mature way, in the sense that the point I was trying to make is like it was done in a way that was like if it was on any other show, I think it would have been received well. But because of how Arrow set itself up, there was no way to give the gun violence issue justice without also doing all the Arrow bullshit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So like I saw a lot of people bashing it, and I was torn because it was like really they give it a good college try, but it just
yeah.
wasn't the place to do it. Like they did a good job of like, and what I love when they do this in The Punisher as well. I don't know if you've seen The Punisher. They give both sides
Punisher
of the
was
argument.
amazing.
Yeah,
I love that show.
so they give both sides of the argument, and they do that in Arrow as well. But it feels like rushed because it's very much an episode about gun violence, not a story. You know, so you feel like at the beginning of the episode, it opens, then there's Arrow stuff going on, the gun violence stuff, Arrow stuff going on, and then the gun violence stuff just stops, and then we move on. Whereas in Supergirl, the whole show from the beginning is always building to this like commentary on women and commentary on gay
Yeah.
women
I mean, the first episode, it's like a big commentary on like the whole name of Supergirl
yeah,
and
exactly.
why that's important, even though some people might think it's not. That's why, like, as much as I don't care for his plot line, Morgan Edge, like
Yeah,
he doesn't feel out of place.
yeah,
As
very
much
much
as I
so.
don't care for what they've done with him, because I don't really understand it, he doesn't feel out of place. He
He
makes sense in that world,
he
even
does.
though his plans are dumb.
There's very much, this is very much a relationship experience watching Supergirl, and I enjoy it because I think that it's two very different perspectives. You know, like
Yeah,
it's one thing being someone who is sympathetic and empathetic of these issues that the show deals with, but it's another thing being a woman. You know,
yeah,
like Jen being a bisexual woman, like she watches the show in a different way that I can't. And
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about it with her after the fact, or even during the show, is interesting because I think there are things that go over my head. And the Morgan Edge character is very much like that, where I find myself going, he's talking like a cartoon character. And then she goes, no, no, there's been people who've said stuff like that. Like, and you just go, oh, like
Yeah.
you. I think it's interesting, and I'm not gonna say like he's a completely forgivable character because there are some stuff that even Jen will admit is stupid, like the stuff that he does where you go,
Well, his weird,
why?
like, I'm gonna kidnap Lena Luthor and put her on a military plane full of lead and then crash the plane because people are gonna think that that's. And I'm like, okay, this is a little too supervillainy, but like, I'm fine with it. Lex Luthor's has done really dumb stuff before,
Yeah.
so like, it's fine. But what that show recently did, honestly, that made it a cut above, I think, most shows in general that I watch, which is gonna sound really
Okay.
weird, was the introduction of Rain.
Okay. Okay.
Two things about it. One, the slow burn aspect.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
TV shows so recently now, especially shows in that verse, want instant gratification.
Yeah.
Hey, Oliver Queen's dead. Never mind, end of the episode. He's not. Haha. Like, I'm still salty about that. The slow burn of 7 episodes, I want to say. Well, probably closer to 5 episodes before she even became Rain.
Yeah, and I think it's also the. Sorry, you had a second point around Rain. I don't want
Oh,
to
and then
derail
the
you.
second point was the first fight between her and Supergirl.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she beat the ever-loving shit out of Super. She ate her fucking lunch. And it was like one of those scenes where even though like I mean the production values on these shows aren't the greatest because it's TV and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but when she like hits her over the head with that fucking like street lamp
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like I got uncomfortable. I was like, that was brutal.
The bit that a lot of people laughed at, but I thought was actually quite powerful. And again, people disagree, but like this is just my justification why I thought was the fact that throughout the fight you can see Supergirl's losing. There's not a point where you go, "Oh, Supergirl's going to turn it around." Like Supergirl's
Yeah.
losing the whole fight, and then Rain lifts her at the end over the side of a building and drops her.
God, I
And
loved it
like
so much.
it's not that it's a lot of people being like she can fly with and like no, that's the point. She can fly. She's never had to worry about falling off a building before, but she's so defeated that she can't even stop herself from falling.
Well, and then she's also like, I'm pretty sure she's like legitimately like concussed and
Yeah.
knocked out enough, which is not something a Kryptonian has ever felt before.
Yeah, so like when you see her fall, it's this really powerful thing of like Supergirl, like and Superman. They're both very one of the most iconic things you think is them shooting into the sky or them soaring through the sky. It's like their thing, Is it a bird? Is it a plane? So when you see a Kryptonian falling to the ground and falling into like a heap of, which was actually pretty good practical effects, like the big
Yeah.
ditch around her. And there's the girl who goes, "Is she dead?" I was like tearing up. I was like, "Dude, this
Yeah.
is this is crazy."
And then, like, I do wish that, like, I get it because all these characters, like, not all of them, but all the superpowered characters have super healing.
Yeah.
I wish we could have had, like, a couple of episodes with her just, like, in a sling, or with, like, a bruised eye, just to show the
Yeah.
effect. But I get why they don't do those things.
Yeah.
But, like, because one of my favorite, which is a wrestling thing, which I think a
Okay.
lot of TV shows and stuff can learn from, is, like, telling a story with your fights. And
Yeah,
not having
yeah.
a fight just be a fight, but telling a story with that.
Absolutely.
And I think that fight told a great story of how Rain just has her number. And she just cannot. She's like Andre the Giant.
Yeah, and
Or maybe closer to like, she's like Triple H. And like, you've got Shawn Michaels, and he is just eating his lunch. And for some reason, Shawn just like, he's usually like he just gets a sweet chin music, has a smile, whatever, and he's all good. But for some reason, like he just beat him down and bloodied him to a pulp.
it was intense, and I think that like I think telling a story with a fight is something that CW shows do so rarely. Like Arrow, I keep coming back to it because like I love to make fun of it, but I still watch it.
Yeah.
So it's got such good choreography. Like of all the shows, because it's probably because he's the one without powers, so they need to have
Yeah,
it.
so they kind of have to.
they kill it with the fight scenes. They rehearse and they work on them and they make them look amazing, but they're uninteresting because there's not any story. It pauses the story. You
Yeah.
hit
And
pause on the
if
plot.
there's like, say you have a fight scene and dude stabs Ollie in the shoulder,
Yeah,
instead of just like, oh, let's do a scene of him getting taped up, like have that affect him to when like he's throwing punches, it's like they're not as strong
yeah,
as they usually are because he's holding back because he's like wincing in pain and like the bad guy takes advantage of that arm or something like, just things that like have your story mean something.
yeah.
Have your fights mean something other than mindless punching because like you can really add to a narrative with how your fights play out.
Yeah, and I think you can like I mean just that's the one that I mentioned there where like she drops her off the building. Like it means something because you have an
Yeah.
established you have an established lore for Supergirl. If you just watch the show, you know what her powers are and what she can do and what she can survive. And then you subvert that to show just how much because it's never happened before. And that's an easy way with no dialogue to tell story with a fight scene that I think that
Yeah.
Arrow it misses the opportunity. And like you could say, oh well, it's because Arrow, he needs to fight because he hasn't got powers. Well, look at Daredevil. Daredevil shows story using fight scenes. When that scene in,
Yeah.
in season 2 where the Punisher is out cold and he's fighting, he's trying to take the Punisher
Oh
in, and he's
God, I
fighting all
love it
those
so much
guys.
because he's exhausted.
He's
He's like
exhausted.
collapsing against the walls and like he's like barely throwing a punch. Like it's so good.
It's great, and it also shows how determined he is in that moment because despite all that, he's still fighting on. Whereas in Arrow, it feels like he feels like his superpower is he never gets hurt in a fight. Like
He has amazing cardio. He has the world's greatest cardio.
there's a good bit in a recent episode of Arrow where like he actually gets knocked down and winded, and like he can't stop something because he's physically unable to get up. And it shocked me, and I was like, "Why didn't he just get up?" And I realized it's because the show has never had this before. Like it was the
Yeah.
first time where Oliver Queen, there was nothing. I was like looking for a pillar that was lying on him or something, but it wasn't.
You're like,
Um,
did he get shot with something? Is he
yeah,
vertigo? No, he's just tired.
no, he's just a sleepy boy. Um,
Took him 8 seasons to get tired, but okay.
yeah, that island didn't affect him, but one punch took him out.
One
Um,
punch.
oh, damn.
Anyway,
Yeah, so that's my
uh,
character fave. I guess it's not really a fave, but I am really enjoying Supergirl, and I did want to say one more thing, just to justify it as a fave. Like the way that they do Alex's character in that show, um,
so
it's so good because like at first I was like, oh, are they just getting rid of her because it's that classic anime thing where you can't have a gay relationship end well, you know?
yeah,
Like I don't know how many animes I've watched where there's been a gay couple and one of them has died. Like I don't know why that's a thing, but like I was really bummed when they had to like end that relationship. But the building on it that they've done since, with the whole thing of her just really wanting to be a mother and her relationship with Rain's kid, like
yeah,
it's so believable, and then it just tears your heart out again because like no, they couldn't have worked. They just couldn't have worked. Like it's so sad because that you believe that they loved each other, but it's just such a crucial thing to Alex, and it shows how crucial it is that you're just like damn they
yeah,
did the right thing by breaking up. God damn it.
yeah. And it sucks because it's like I love Maggie. I think she's a great character
She was good. I
and
really liked that
great
episode with her
actress.
dad as well. Like it was
Yeah,
just a very interesting take on homophobia, like on
yeah.
how people why he was homophobic. It was such an interesting, like, weird
Yeah.
reason. Okay, right, let's jump in because I've taken up too much time talking about shows that I kind of like.
I took up like 5 hours talking about Batman Telltale, okay? When we already talked about it last show.
Okay, we'll jump into my topic first because it's a little less fleshed out than yours, and then we'll end with a big talk about yours if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
Okay, I want to talk about genres. I want to talk specifically about genres, or a specific genre if you only have one, because I think I only have one.
Yeah, I only have one.
A genre that is,
We might have the same genre.
I don't. Ooh, we'll see. We'll see. A genre that is that is so deep in your heart that you cannot help watch something, no matter how many bad reviews, no matter how little you have interest in the plot. If it's this genre, you're just like, I'm in. I'm definitely in.
Yeah.
Do you have one, or do you want me to go first?
I have one, as
Okay.
long as this counts as a genre. Um, I mean, it's I guess the comic book movie,
Comic book movie. Okay,
just
okay,
in
okay.
general, because
No, that counts as a
like
genre, definitely.
there's certain like I watched the movie Red with Bruce Willis,
I
and
kind of liked it.
it's not a bad movie, no,
Oh.
but that is not a movie that I would have really probably wanted. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. Oh, it's based on a comic. Okay, well, I guess I'll watch it. Like, there are so many things that I've been like, most TV shows, like, or I've
Yeah,
been like, oh, I guess I'm gonna watch it. Like, it's one of those things that I have such an affection for that medium
yeah.
that it's just one of the, it's an instant get for me where I'm
I
just like, oh, well, it's based on a comic. All right, cool, I'll check it out.
I definitely used to have that a lot. I think what helped me with getting over that, because I watched so many bad shows. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know this, John, but people are not good at interpreting comic books.
Did you did you watch the Human Target show
No.
on Sci-Fi Channel?
No, I never knew they made a TV show of
They
that.
did. They did. I watched some of that.
That comic is
Uh,
pretty good.
yeah, I don't remember. I don't think the show was horribly bad.
Okay, okay.
I think it was actually pretty good. It's like one of those fun pulpy shows. You
Oh,
know,
fair
you're not
enough.
really thinking too much about it. You're,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of it got to the point where it was so oversaturated, the comic book TV show especially, not just the comic book movie, but like you can watch a movie and you don't have to, you can wait
yeah,
like 3 years until the next one comes out. But the comic book TV show became such a staple of American TV shows that like, and because it's harder for me to watch them as well, because I have to like, for some of them they don't come out year for a while, and some of them like I have to, you have on a certain subscription service.
yeah,
I just got to the point. I think the first one was Lucifer. When Lucifer came out, season one, I made a choice. I was like, I'm not going to watch this because I've never read the comic.
yeah.
I have no invest in like, I don't even.
See,
I'm not a big
I
genre.
didn't.
Sorry.
I started that show.
Oh my god.
It's not a bad show,
I'm
but
sure it's
like
all right.
I got to the point like where you're at, I guess, where it got to where I'm like I don't watch Arrow anymore.
Yeah.
I want to watch Legends, but I just I forgot
No,
about it.
that show was so
I
bad.
watched Flash and Supergirl, and then I caught up to those shows, and then watched the crossover episode, and I was like, okay, I get where the other shows are at.
Yeah.
I get where they're at right now.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's just one of those, like I've gotten better about it now, but I remember for a time, it was like anything that was like remotely related to a comic. It's like, all right, I have to watch it. It's like part of my identity.
I remember I had that with I'm a big fan of Men in Black 1. I really like the movie. Um, I really didn't like Men in Black 2. It was kind of a disappointing thing. I was really young and I was excited for it because I watched Men in Black 1 a bunch. And then Men in Black 2 came out and I went to see it in the cinema and I was like, oh, this is disappointing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to see Men in Black 3. And then someone told me, oh, do you know Men in Black's based on a comic book? And then I was like, oh, maybe I should go see the third one. Like, even though I'd already seen a bad one, I just
Yeah.
was like, and then it turned out to be okay. It was like, all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say the third one's not horrible.
No, it's not the second one.
Interesting. It confused me though about the timeline
Yeah, and I think
because I was like, wait a minute, wait, Tommy Lee Jones knew Will Smith when he was a kid? What? Huh?
yeah, it completely changes his motivations in the first one. Because in the first one, his
Yeah.
whole thing is like, we need to diversify the agency. We need to get people in who like aren't like us, and aren't elitist. But then if you watch the third one and go back, it's like, well, he's only getting him in because he knows that he sees him in the future. Like,
Yeah.
um,
So weird.
it is weird.
But
It is
what's
a weird movie.
your genre?
So I think you might have hit me if I was a bit younger. I would have probably said that because there are very much a lot of things that I've tried because they were based on comics that, again, like you said, not even superhero things. Just it was based on a comic, so I was just like, yeah, I'll watch it. But I kind of grew out of that when it just got too much and too hard. But the genre that's always stuck with me that I just can't, and I've been very unlucky in this genre. It's getting better. It is getting better, but I've been very unlucky, which is neo-noir. Or like, I guess you could
Oh.
say cyberpunk, but I think cyberpunk's a bit too broad. like,
Yeah.
but definitely neo noir. I don't know what it is. It's not even a plot. It's not even a story. Like people who call noir things, they refer to like hard boiled stories, like detective, like
Yeah.
they think that is what noir. But noir traditionally means like the way something looks. Like it literally just means like black in French. Like so neo noir is like this like Blade how Blade Runner looks, how Ghost in the Shell looks, how Akira looks. Like
Yeah.
it's like this very specific visual style
So
and like
this might be my not my, my smarts coming in or my lack of, I should say.
okay.
Um, where, like, what are some examples that you've been burned at? Because I can't name a bunch of neo-noir
I'll,
specific things off the top of my
yeah.
head.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of them don't do well because it is a very expensive genre. A lot of anime, a lot of terrible anime I've watched.
Okay.
Anime love it. I don't know what happened, but when Blade Runner came out, they kind of created the genre, and then they went mad with it. I mean, Akira and Ghost in the Shell are two of the biggest, anime movies ever, and they've both, like the creators of both, have said these movies wouldn't exist without Blade Runner. Like they're very,
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of because of Akira and because of Ghost in the Shell and because of the lack of live action neo noir. I've been like, well, animes. I love anime, and anime seems like a perfect place to do this for not a lot of money because they can draw it all. But it's a lot of the thing about Blade Runner, right? Which is why it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Is this very no one says anything unless they need to. There's no overarching dialogue. Like there's no like it was she was a blonde and I fell in love with her as soon as she walked in the
Yeah,
room.
that's always like the joke. But
Yeah, there's none of that. No characters speak unless they have to speak, unless it serves the plot or their characterization. I think this is something that they miss in Japan because they love monologues so much. So what you get is you get a lot of characters just driving and talking. And like I said, I love the visual style. That's what sucks me in. But it still has to be a good plot. It still has to end
yeah.
up being a good plot for me to like it. But I will watch it. I will watch stuff that is just boring. There is like things that seem neo noir but don't end up being. Like there are a lot of things that for example, the movie In Time. I've had a very different perspective. Not In Time. What is it? Was it In Time? It was Justin Timberlake and
No,
Olivia.
I know what you're talking about. I think it's In Time. Yeah, I think
It
that's the
might have
name
been
of
In
it.
Time, yeah. The trailers felt very neo noir, and to give the movie credit, it was a bit neo noir. It borrowed elements from it, but I think the problem is that they had this kind of like road trip aspect to it that they couldn't really
Really?
keep the. Have you seen? Did you watch the movie?
I did not, but I remember the
Okay.
trailers. So that was not marketed as a movie that would have a road trip
Yeah,
aspect to it.
well, this again, road trip is a bit of a weird way to put it, but they basically they leave the location from the trailers that is very, quite
Neo-noir,
futuristic,
like,
and
yeah.
they go to a bit of a posher place where the upper class people live, and the upper class people they have kind of reverted back to old style of houses and stuff because it's more magnificent, it's less industrial and stuff. And this is something that is in neo noir, it's in Blade Runner, but it's just not. It's done in a way that feels like we didn't have the money to keep this like futuristic stuff going
Sprawling
on.
landscape. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have this like really interesting beginning of a movie. The plot is so it's okay. Cillian Murphy tries his best. He's a really good villain, but like the plot's
He
okay.
always tries his
He
best, doesn't
does.
he? He does.
But what I found is just a lot of neo noir stuff lacks substance because it's such an attractive genre visually and audio wise as well that you get a lot of people trying to sell the movie on just that. Like Blade Runner is a beautiful movie, but it doesn't just live or die by its visuals. The same with the sequel. The sequel is a fantastic film, but it doesn't live or die by the visuals. The visuals are just
Yeah.
a huge aspect, and they almost amplify the story. But because I love those types of visuals and that song as well, the synth wave, like wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow, like a lot of people didn't like the Ghost in the Shell live action movie. Now, I can see the flaws, and I can see the ways in which people didn't like it. And there's this whole other aspect we can talk about it, where it comes to the racism that potentially was involved. But just as a movie, looking at that movie, I loved that movie because it really scratched that itch for me of like a live action neo noir and really going all in. Like the art direction in that movie, there are things where like people will be walking down the street and the main action is right in front of you. There are two characters, they're talking and they're talking about important stuff. But if you look in the background, there's like 100 signs, 100 like
Yeah.
holographic signs, and each of them is individually has got like words on there and then shop names and stuff, and I just love just being sucked in and feeling like I'm there, like this is a city that actually exists, and the art directors have really gone through and they've made sure that there's not like a blurry sign in the background, there's actually something there, you know. I don't know, it's an interesting genre, and I think that more often than not people try to stay away from it because it's so expensive, especially in live action.
Yeah.
But when you pull it off, like I mean, the perfect example is the sequel to Blade Runner. Such a beautiful, just cinematic experience that made literally no money.
Yeah, it made more money internationally.
Yeah, yeah, which I think
It did
is
make more money internationally, but still not the amount of money the amount that it costs to make it should make.
yeah, and there's kind of the shame about it is that if you want to make a good one, you kind of have to alienate a lot of people because
Yeah.
it's such a specific genre. But then if you end up alienating people, you end up not making money. Like Blade Runner, the reason it took 30 years for them to make a sequel is because when the original Blade Runner came out, it made no money either. It was just
Yeah.
as much of a failure as the sequel was. But then in the cult following, it like grows it and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because there's this new Netflix show called Altered Carbon. I don't know if you've seen any of the
I've
trailers for
heard
it or
about
anything.
it. I haven't seen anything about it, but I've heard people talk about it.
So it was this thing where I watched the trailer and it was leaning hard into the Blade Runner type aesthetic. It was so neo-noir. It's a detective story. It's got like people in bodies that aren't their own. I was like, this show is made for me, and I had to stop and I had to go, I can't watch this because if this disappoints me, then I don't know where to go. Like this is my final thing. And the reviews are starting to come out, and everyone loves it. And I just don't know what to do now. I don't know if I could get my heart broken again, John. Because people are liking it, and it cost a bomb to make. It's
Yeah.
neo-noir. It looks like Blade Runner. I'm so excited. The soundtrack is awesome. People, right, so I saw this guy review it, and he was like, no spoilers, but my favorite character is a hotel. And I was like, okay, I gotta watch this show. What does that mean?
I've seen that floating around, and I'm like, well, okay, cool.
Like, how is that not a selling point? That is amazing that someone could say that about a TV show. So I'm gonna bite the bullet eventually, and I really hope I don't get burnt. But it's just been in my mind, recently, with the whole Blade Runner failure, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I want if anyone's listening to this podcast, if anyone happens upon this podcast somehow, and they're like, I don't know, maybe they're a teenager and they go into film school, and they're like, they get this big opportunity. They're like, oh, dude, I'm gonna make a film, and everyone's giving me loads of money to make a film. Please make me one. I don't even care if it's bad. Just make it. At the off chance that it could be good. Because if we get like like with comic book movies, we get so many, and there's some of them are great and some of them terrible. At least there'll be a couple good ones.
Yeah. Remember that time period when everyone was like, "Oh no, guys, we're making too many superhero movies. The bubble's gonna burst." Yeah. I don't think that's.
Dude, I don't know, because on the one hand, I agree that it's going to get old. I just don't think they're going to stop.
My
think-
thing's
I
like,
think-
yeah, I don't think it's a thing about a bubble bursting. I think it's just superhero movies are now a part of the American cinema
Yeah.
experience. I don't think it's like, oh, we're gonna stop making them. I just think they're gonna become a new staple.
I that's something interesting actually. I think they're probably more likely to be like movies based on books. We don't even think
Yeah.
about it anymore. Comic book movie will stop being a genre. It'll just be like when a movie based on a book comes out and it's a war book. Like the book was about war and the movie is about
Yeah.
war because it's based on the book. People don't call it, oh, that's that book movie that's about war.
Yeah.
They call it a war movie, Like, and I think it's going to be that case where like you have like, I don't know, say Chew turns into a movie. That should totally be a series, but that's against the point. If they turn Chew into a movie, it'll be like, oh, do you see that Supernatural Detective movie? It just came
Yeah.
out. It won't be that comic book movie. Which, by the way, please don't make Chew into a movie. Please make it
Please
into a
don't
series.
make it a TV show. That needs to be a TV show.
Anyway, so that was my topic. I talked a lot about it, but I had a lot of mourning to do. I hope you didn't mind me mourning to you, John.
No, of course. I love it when you moan.
Oh, God. Moving swiftly on.
I had to. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, that's true.
My
What's your topic, John?
What? Every time I think of these topics, for some reason, mentally in my head, I go, that's a dumb way to phrase that question, and I instantly stop. But what is a scene in any media or fiction that's just seared into your brain, that's stuck with you forever? It's a scene that you can instantly kind of visualize and, bring back up from the depths of your long-term memory.
So, I'm going to go first, which I know is a bit, because you asked the question, but I do want to go first.
I'm very curious to hear your answer.
I want to go first for an interesting reason, though. You sent me a message with the topic. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so you said, what scene in fiction has been seared into your brain? Which is a good way to, get the message across. But I glanced at that, and the first thing I saw was science fiction. Because it was seen in fiction. I read it as science fiction. And I don't know how I got to it, but I thought you meant it had to be from a science fiction movie. So I have two answers. But I think that's fine, because I've just created this whole other separate topic. So funny enough, the science fiction one brings me back to my other point, which is, I don't know how popular it is. It's pretty fucking popular, but like, there's a scene in the end of Blade Runner where a character is
the
dying.
tears in the...
I mean, you can't get a better scene than that, my friend. Like, it's just...
I haven't even watched the full movie. I haven't even seen the movie. I've seen that scene, though.
Yeah, and it's
like,
because
yes.
It's one of those things, right? And you get this a couple of times in art, and it's probably the thing that artists probably strive for the most, in which you take that scene out of context, and it is poetry. It just works. Yeah. It works so well out of context, and you can just share it around, and you go, hey, you don't have to know anything about this movie, just watch this, and you'll cry. But then if you add the context of the movie, it just adds a whole other layer, and it's still good, and it's still fantastic, and it's beautiful in different ways. Like, that is the perfect thing you want to create when you're a creator, like an artist. Yeah. And just the additional context, again, I won't get too into it, because again, you haven't seen the movie, so I don't want to experience the movie the first time through me talking about it. But like, the cool thing about Blade Runner, when you watch it more and more, is you realize how much of a bad person Deckard is. Like, and how intentionally bad he is. Like, a lot of people who watch Blade Runner for the first time, they go, the hero is unlikable. And I go, well, he's not the hero. He's just the main character. A main character isn't a hero. Just people think that is the case. But the hero of the, the protagonist, I would say, is the villain. So the protagonist of the thing, the guy who's really trying to make change and trying to make change for the better, as he sees it, is what the movie conveys as the bad guy. Who's the guy who dies and says the poem, like Tears in Rain.
Yeah.
So there's this interesting theme in Blade Runner where the more that you watch it, the more you realize how Rick Deckard is kind of a terrible person, and how the movie is about a lot of things, but one of the small themes, one of the themes that kind of goes under the radar, is Deckard's growth from becoming a very terrible human being to becoming, I guess, realizing that he's a terrible being. He never really redeems himself until the sequel, but like he kind of just realizes the end of the movie is him realizing that he needs to become a better person. And the way they do that is through his view of the replicants. So when you see this scene where it's the first time where he's really, really understanding the replicants, it's like fictionalized version of and I've never seen this in my life, but seeing a racist realize that they're wrong about everything. Like, imagine if you got to see the moment where someone was finally convinced, of that thing that they're wrong about. Someone was finally convinced of, I don't know, like, that there's, I'm just pulling something hot topic out of the air, but like systemic racism. Like, imagine someone their whole life was against systemic racism, and then there was just this moment where they realized it existed. Like, they so perfectly do it that's why the scene is seared into my brain, because I see it and I go, I just want all these terrible people to just have this Rick Deckard moment. I just want them to see someone, and you just see him, and he's not like the character. Roy Batty, his name is the villain. Good guy. He just is calm. And he's like, before this movie, he's like howling. He's like howling like a wolf and screaming and chasing after Deckard. But it's just this moment, because he's just like, oh, well, I did everything I could. I tried my best. I did everything I could. And still I'm going to die. So there's nothing I can do now except for just try to appeal to this guy's human side. And he just says it. He just goes, I've seen things that, like, you'll never imagine. And it's just unfair that I don't have to die after 4 years. And Rick Deckard's looking at him and he just goes, oh my God, I'm wrong about everything. It's just such a genius scene. I'm not even going to say another scene. I think this is it. I think this might be the scene. The other one was from a movie called Stuck in Love. Anyone who's seen that film, there's a scene in the car. They'll know what I'm talking about. I might talk about that on a different episode. Wait, have you seen the movie?
Is that the one? Is that Steve Carell?
Sorry?
Is that Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling?
No, that's Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. That's a really good movie.
That is also a really good movie. But there's a movie called Stuck in Love with, I think it's Greg Kinnear. There's a bunch of people. But there's a scene in a car where a character shows this other character a song that is very important. She asks, okay, I guess I'm explaining it. This one character goes, what's your favorite song? And the other, it's not even what's your favorite song. I think she's making fun of him for liking music so much, or something like that. And he turns and he goes, you've never heard a song that hits you in a specific way that you've never felt before? And she goes, no. So then he goes, shut up. So like he just puts the song on. And it plays for a bit, and there's just this rain hitting the side of the car, and there's just silence, and then she just starts to cry, and then she's like crying, and then she just turns to him, she's like, I'm scared, because it's like the first time in her life that she's like felt, well, it's not the first time in her life, but it's the first time for a while that she's like been really hit by something, like this. And it's just like the music brings something out of her. And it's just that experience is so relatable. Like, I've had that myself where like someone just goes, no, wait a second. And then you just go, oh,
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of similar to what you were talking about in the earlier episode of that scene in anime where the guy, like the girl just like hugs him and the guy just starts crying. Do you remember you were talking about that? It's very similar to
ReZero
that.
starting life in a new world.
Yeah. So this scene is just that. But I think I'm going to go with the Blade Runner one just because of how much I talked about it. So tell me yours, John. Tell me what your scene is.
I feel like my answer is not nearly as good as your
I'm
answer.
sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just very passionate about Cyberpunk.
You had a very poetic answer. Mine, it feels weird in context.
No,
now.
dude, kill it. I'm looking forward to it.
No. I mean, so things recently came to light about the person who created this piece of fiction.
Oh gosh,
Where
they're not
a good person.
Look, I don't know if you saw
my
my recent video on my favorite movies, but like I had to talk about stuff I didn't want to talk about because I liked Baby Driver so much. It's just such a shame. I love Baby Driver, and I just had to do it. I felt like I couldn't put out a video without first being like, here's an hour of me talking about why I think Kevin Spacey is a terrible person. Like, it's just such a fucking stupid. I'm just angry at these people. Like, I'm angry at them more so for what they did, obviously. Like, that's horrific.
It was one of those things where when the article released and I saw what they did, I was so mad because I was like, it's like they've tainted this perfect thing.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay. But I still think, look, I always say this, right? I say personally I can still enjoy art to an extent. It depends.
To an extent, yeah.
It depends. There's like a case by case basis. But for the most part, I can usually enjoy art, especially if other people are involved. Like I always feel bad for the artists. Like, especially with comics where it's a duo. You know? Because like with a
Yeah.
film, you can go, well, he was just a cast member. You know, with Kevin Spacey and Baby Driver, I could be like, well, he's just a cast member. You know, he didn't write the film, he didn't produce the film, he didn't edit the film, he didn't direct the film, he didn't, you know, it's such a good film, even though he's in it. But like with artists and writers, and it comes out that the writer is a dickhead, and you're just like, oh, the artist, they put all that work into the comic.
Yeah,
But obviously,
it's so
yeah.
hard.
I don't want to talk too much about this because obviously it's such a complicated issue, and obviously like I feel for the people affected mostly.
Yeah. So mine is from Rurouni Kenshin.
Okay, I'd not heard about this. I've not actually heard about anything like this. Is this the anime or the
Well, the
manga?
scenes in both.
Okay.
I guess so. Pick your poison. I
What
guess
did
the
you
anime.
watch?
I think I read it first before
Okay.
I saw it.
Okay.
Because technically, so I read Rurouni Kenshin. Well, I didn't read all of it at that time. I wasn't finished with it, but I had read most of it, and then we had gotten a bootleg of the entire series on
wow.
CD-ROMs. Yeah, this is going in the Wayback Machine. And so it's the scene of basically Kenshin
Okay.
Himura. You know, he used to be. I guess I have to get some historical context for it
Ooh.
because I can't really just describe the scene.
Dude, I just talked about
So-
the entirety of Blade Runner. I think you've got
Yeah.
you've
So
got the plot.
he used to be Batosai the Manslayer. He was this samurai during the big war before the Meiji Revolution in Japanese history, and he was a murderer. He just murdered folks. He killed them.
wow.
He was famous for. He was called a manslayer. Like that was one of his titles. After all that, he feels horrible about it. So he decides he's going to be a Rurouni, which is a wanderer.
Okay.
He meets this woman named Kaoru who lives in this town, whatever, and she teaches a school, and she teaches a Kaiyu Kashin style, which is like their family style of swordsmanship.
Okay. Okay.
But the idea is a weapon to defend and to protect,
I see what you're
not
saying.
a weapon
Yeah,
for
yeah,
killing. Yeah, it's about, and so there's also this plot line in the beginning of someone using his name and murdering people. That's a whole different thing, whatever. But really, he really, you know, obviously, like he doesn't say it outright, but you can tell. Actually, he does. He does have a famous scene, which that's another scene that I love. But he says, you know, he's like, someone's like, hey, that's a naive thing to say. You know,
Yeah.
a sword is made for a sword is made for killing.
Yeah.
And Kenshin's like, you know, you are right. That is naive. But I would honestly live in a world with this naive way of thinking and live in a world without, like, and that's a great scene as it is. Because he has his way of speaking is really weird and different because he doesn't like how he phrases sentences are weird. Part of it
Okay.
might be from the anime like translation,
Yeah.
how they phrase the sentences, but I like to think that it's just like a way that he speaks.
Well, if it's him
We don't-
specifically compared to other characters, then that makes sense that it would be a quirk from him, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. So he stays with her, lives with her. Then someone from his past shows up, and they have this giant duel. And he's like, "Look, one of our dudes that we used to roll with is in Kyoto, and he's gonna fucking shit up right now, and he's gonna take down the entire government that we murdered, you know, hundreds of thousands of people to create. Because basically, like after the big samurai war." There was, you know, the Meiji era, which is this era with no samurais are outlawed. There's no samurais anymore, and it's supposed to be like an era of peace.
Okay.
And so this dude's like, "Hey, we gotta go to Kyoto. We gotta fuck this dude. We gotta eat his lunch."
I want to see your dub of this.
Yeah,
We gotta fuck
And-
this guy up.
yeah, and we gotta like save, you know, that whatever. And he's like, the only way you can do this though is if you go back to being Batosai. You go back to being Manslayer. So there's this scene where Kenshin starts walking away. You know, he starts walking out of the temple, whatever, and Kaoru's crying, and she's like grabbing his kimono, whatever. She's like, don't leave. Like, you don't have to do this. Find another way, whatever. And then he just like walks away, and she like kind of collapses on the ground.
Okay.
And it's like this image of like just him and like his back, whatever, and her
Yeah.
foreground, like, and it's just always hit me because it's always that like the idea of like, I don't know, has to give up this newfound peace to go back to, what he once was. It's the Wolverine syndrome. It's Logan. A lot of like, or not
Yeah,
even Logan really.
it's like the calling. I think it's very rare that it's done in the West. I think actually, so
Yeah,
it's a very like I don't want to say Japanese because it might be a whole Eastern thing, but like in a lot of anime, there's this idea of like you eventually the past catches up with you, and you have to answer
yeah,
for it, or you have to do something, to rectify it. And I always like the idea of like because the characters like, and again, I haven't seen this anime, so correct me if I'm
yeah,
off, but there's something I really like in anime that they do a lot, where characters have to decide whether or not they've they've redeemed themselves yet. So
yeah,
like for the example you give, like he comes to this town and then all of a sudden he's a part of this town and he's helping this town. You know, does that
yeah.
not exonerate him from what he did in the past? Does he then have to go back and actually affect things? It's like when does it run out? When are you absolved? When are you finally like not
Yeah.
tied to?
And that's one of the great things is that they do this again with like telling a story with your fights.
Yeah.
He uses a sword that's a reverse blade sword. It's called a sakabata.
So it's on the other
Um,
side.
yeah, so
Yeah, yeah,
basically like it's a reverse blade. You can't kill anyone with it. You can
oh, I
break
see.
bones, but you physically cannot murder someone with it
That's
because of
interesting.
how the blade is formed.
Yeah.
And that's just such like that detail
Mm.
is so like tells you everything you need to know about the character.
Yeah, he's essentially fighting with a training sword.
Yeah, yeah. He's putting himself at a handicap
Yeah.
because of his beliefs and like how he feels, and how bad he feels about all the senseless violence, that he's been a part of. And that's another interesting thing is the how the war, and the violence around it affected all these different people because a lot of the bad guys or even supporting characters are people that have in some way been shaped by the new era or the old era.
Yeah. So he's added like a hand in all their lives, if indirectly.
Yeah, even if indirectly just because of like the violence. Like one of the he starts off as a bad guy, becomes a, party member as they usually do. He was a part he was a part of like this farmers revolution that assisted the government,
Okay.
but then the government, labeled them as criminals and murdered them all.
I see. Yeah, yeah,
And so there's a lot of like it's like, hey, we're kind of bad people, but are we bad people if the world we created is good?
yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting situation because I like it when a show can do that, when they can take all these huge ideas and it ultimately just boils it down to this relationship between
Yeah,
him and this woman, because it's it's about more than that. It's about, like you explained, like the war, and it's about his responsibility to that, and should he not go back, but they can do it with just that, with just her trying to hold
yeah,
him back and failing. It just shows you so much. Like, again, we've talked a lot about this, which is quite nice that it's come back around so much. But like, telling story without having words,
yeah,
telling story with having actions instead of words. And we talked about fight scenes, but also just in the sense of just showing something and being like, oh well, like math, like I know
yeah,
X, I know Y, so therefore, Z must be this. Like, that she cares about him, that he cares about her. So the fact that he doesn't stop and turn around and stay even when she asks him, it's like, oh well, you've told a story with that, and you didn't have to have any words. Like, him just
yeah.
walking off is enough. Like, it's just a small choice that filmmakers and creators make, that if they make it, I just go, oh dude, I'm so glad you didn't just fill that with dialogue,
Yeah,
um but yeah, I appreciate stuff like that. I don't want the podcast to end.
I know, right?
I feel like I rushed through the topics because I was so worried about the fact that it's so long, but then we only ended up going, I mean, we still went for quite a while, like.
I mean, we usually do. We usually figure out a way.
We do figure out a way. Do you have any scenes from something else then? Just because I give two, so I feel like you have another opportunity. I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Yeah. I do. I always have scenes that like, because I don't know, especially I don't know, fiction and especially with like geeky, dorky people or people who've like have insecurities or whatever, you gravitate towards stuff like that and you kind of you throw yourself into it,
Yeah.
a lot of times. And so a lot of times I go back to these, I don't know, these wells or these things of just stuff. This is another one with a weird creator. Um, did you watch
It's
American
hard to
Ultra?
avoid. Oh no, not the Max Landis thing. I forgot about that. I
Yeah, yeah. Well,
forgot. Oh,
I know.
Chronicle is such a good film.
Chronicle's really good, and I
I've
argue
not
American
seen it.
Ultra's a
I've
good
not
movie
seen it.
also. But American Ultra has this one scene, which is the guy and the girl. They're sitting on the car, and they're looking at this car that's crashed into a tree.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're looking out, whatever, and they see a car crash. Basically, they see a
Yeah.
car and a tree. And he starts talking about the tree. You know how it's this beautiful tree. It's let me get to it.
Okay.
It's this beautiful. It's this tree. It's like it's beautiful. It's nature.
Yeah.
It's been there for however long.
Yeah.
Growing and thriving. And then one day, this car just came. Oh wait, crap. Is that it? No. Sorry, I swapped the metaphor. It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's okay. It's okay.
He's talking about the car. The car is this beautiful thing that's constantly moving. It's always
Oh,
moving.
okay. Yeah.
It's been moving ever since it got off the lot. And then it hits this tree that's been standing there for years. It's been standing there. It hasn't been doing anything. It's just been in one spot
Yeah.
and it's content and it's happy and it's stopped this car from moving forward, whatever. And like he's kind of crying and he's obviously talking about how he feels, he said like, I'm the tree
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for this beautiful car, whatever, basically just like
He feels like
I've
he's holding
stopped.
it back.
Yeah, I'm holding your back. I've stopped all your momentum and your forward movement, and you've crashed into me, and now you're broken too. And so
Yeah.
it's weird. Like it was a moment that kind of really hit me because like especially when that movie came out during that, I was feeling really bad and like had some bad choices were
Yeah.
going around, and so I really related to that of just feeling like wow, like I'm this piece of shit, and this person is like. Which obviously, like, it's debatable.
Yeah. We're not here to debate if John is a piece of shit.
But no, it's one of those things that, especially, being in a relationship,
Yeah. You feel a
you can
lot of.
feel like you're holding someone back, or because of all your baggage, and sometimes you can feel like the tree that stopped this beautiful. I love that it's a beautiful car,
Yeah.
this beautiful object from moving forward.
I think that's really prolific, actually. I think it's nice. It's an interesting, because you do. I don't know if everyone will relate to this, but I certainly do. Like you feel, it's just by nature of the fact of being in love with someone, right? And now we're getting deep, and this is why I wanted to
Yeah.
keep going because,
We knew we were right at the surface.
yeah.
If we had just kept talking for 2 more seconds.
Look, I'm being very nostalgic. I got a wedding in like a month and a half.
Yeah, right?
So, so just by nature of being in love with someone, again, I can't speak for everyone, but I would think that means that you think this person is amazing, you know? So
Yeah.
it's always this interesting thing when if you love someone and you're in love with them, you think they're amazing, you put them on a pedestal, that then you think, well, then what am I doing here? You know,
Yeah.
you're inevitably going to come to that conclusion. In my experience, that's something that I've grappled with. It's clearly something that you've grappled with because you just talked about
Yeah.
it, you know. And I think that when filmmakers can address that, because it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. Like, I think it's easier to talk about relationships that are toxic or relationships that are, that have had obvious issues, more on the surface issues, things that you can see, you know.
Yeah.
But when it's something like I'm not good enough, it's kind of a weird. It's not something that you can like see. You can't like see it when in a relationship. You can't see it in an argument a lot of the times. So I think
Yeah.
art is kind of got this responsibility a lot of times to talk about these things. When you see, oh, dude, I'm thinking of something very specific. I'm thinking of something very specific. I feel like a fortune teller. I'm seeing something. It begins with a P. No. There is the okay, dude, oh my god, okay, this is making me real sad now because of how good this scene is. There's a scene in the Scott Pilgrim comic books.
Oh God.
Have you read Scott Pilgrim comic books
Yeah,
recently?
I finished it all the way.
Okay, so there is a
I
scene.
are you talking about Nega Scott?
No, Negascott is very much yes, but there's a scene, a more understated scene. It's not as much like Negascott is very metaphorical. Like we all
Yeah.
have that, but that's like you can actually see him in the comic, like he's there, even though
Yeah.
he's a figment of his imagination. I guess I never know with that book,
Yeah.
but there's this scene and it kills me every time I read this goddamn comic. I hate it for being so good because I have to go through this scene. But there's a scene where Scott gets drunk, and I'm not even a drinker, so I don't even fully relate to this. But like, Scott gets drunk, and he's at a party with Ramona, and they haven't had an argument. It's not one of the many scenes in the comics where he does something stupid, and then she has a right to be pissed off. Like, it's not a big dramatic argument that they have. They're at this party, and it's just not vibing. Sometimes
Yeah.
where you're just like at a party with the person that you love, or you're at a place with the person you love, and it's just not there, just for some
Yeah,
reason.
sometimes you're out and you're just like, we're not like you make a joke and it's not taken as a joke, or you're just like, we're not on the same wavelength
Yeah,
right now. For
exactly,
some reason,
exactly.
we're just nothing's hitting like it's supposed to.
So Scott gets drunk, and Kim gets drunk as well, and they're just hanging out with is Kim, Ramona, and Scott, and then I think they take Kim home or something, or she sleeps on the couch, and they go up to the bedroom, and there's no dialogue. They just go up to the bedroom, and Scott starts to take his clothes off, and then he starts kissing Ramona, and then they kiss for a little bit, and you don't actually see. It never tells you whether or not they have sex, but they're just kissing, and the covers are over them. And then the next panel is Scott asleep. Just he's fallen asleep. He's asleep. He's got the blanket over her, and Ramona is just looking up at the ceiling, and she's just staring at the ceiling, and she's got this face, and like obviously it's not a super detailed comic, but you don't need to have the detail. She's just got this
Yeah.
face, and you go, "Oh my god, no!" You just like, oh, because you feel like you just go, "Oh my fucking god, this has definitely happened." Like there's just this, it's just this, it's not this relationship ending thing. It's not this huge argument. It's just this day where just nothing was happening, and whether or not they had sex, it doesn't really matter. But it's just the
Yeah.
whole thing of the fumbling, and he takes his clothes off, and then they fumble around, and they have this really unsatisfying kiss that isn't really, there's no passion behind it. And then he falls asleep, and she's just left awake, and she's by herself. And even though he's lying next to her in the bed, you can tell she just feels so like by herself. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't. It just really wrecked me. I just kept looking at the page, and I couldn't move on because I was like, there has definitely been like at least one, two, or three nights like this, And I've been the
Hmm.
Scott, And it just feels like because it's not something to be embarrassed of. I don't think because I think it happens. Sometimes you can't control it, Like we
Yeah,
said,
and it's not something that anyone can really be blamed for.
yeah,
It's more so just like sometimes like
it's just,
streams get crossed,
yeah, and
and you could just tell that like you're having conversation, but like it's not coming naturally, or
yeah.
you're just like something's off with the day, or like maybe internally that you're just like, I just don't feel right today. I don't
Yeah,
know, like it's a weird day. I didn't get enough sleep maybe, or I don't know.
yeah, and it's the reason I'm having such a hard time describing it is because it's something that cannot be fully described
Yeah.
until you experience it in art. And that's why I think art is so important because it expresses these things. That panel is probably something Brian Lee O'Malley tried to say it with words for so long to like his partners or to maybe his friends, or he's just trying to say it like with his mouth, with words. It just didn't
Yeah.
come out. So he had to create that sequence of events that like it and like it just works. It's just you just watch it and you just go, yeah, that's the most accurate thing I've seen in my goddamn life. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's just
That's the
weird,
like
man.
the weird thing about Yeah, just art in general. I
Yeah.
love that we're getting on a broad thesis statement about art. It's just making you, it's portraying and making you aware of the human experience in a way
Yeah.
that you can't, you can't for some reason vocalize or visualize yourself. It's a way of making you sympathize and empathize, which are two words we've been using a lot
Yeah.
with life in this weird, and it's,
Yeah. It, it, it's also just like I think it's two fronts as well. I think there's the first front of understanding, which is something I'm a huge fan of. I love understanding people and like and just knowing what goes on in other people's heads and how other people think and stuff. Like one of my favorite people to talk to in the world is my sister-in-law because she's such a I don't want to say argumentative because that sounds negative, even though I don't mean it in a negative way. She just loves
yeah,
debating. She loves talking and disagreeing, and we disagree on so much. But it's so fun because you get to see into the mind of someone who isn't like yes and yes and yes and agreeing with everything you say. And I think art does that in such a way that you can just you can't in a way that you can't talk about something. It can show you. Like I watched Black Lightning. I watched Luke Cage, and like it gives me this insight into a life that I never had to live. You
yeah.
watch Supergirl, and you go, I can't believe that. Like people tell you they have to deal with that stuff, but it isn't until you see it that you go, oh my god, I just didn't understand it on a level. Um, and that's something that art can do. It can put you in the shoes of someone that you would never be able to be in the shoes of before. But then the second thing is also not to reference like the god who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, David Bowie. I'm still
Oh,
sad, but like he has a song called "Rock and Roll Suicide." It's my favorite song by him. Where he just at the end of the song is him just screaming the words "You're not alone." He just screams them over and over and over again. He just goes, "You're not alone," and that's kind of the other side of art, where it's like I read that moment in Scott Pilgrim, and I felt embarrassed, and I felt sad, and I felt regretful, but I also felt less alone because I'm like, this is clearly an experience that isn't unique to me.
yeah.
This is something that it was the first time that I realized it's something that happens in other relationships. It's not just this weird thing that happens to me every once a year, once every 2 years, or twice a year, once a year, like something. I don't know why I'm trying to clarify it.
There are times I can distinctly remember where we're watching a show and I'll like someone will do something. I'll be like, oh, come on, asshole, what are you doing? And like Christina has turned to me and been like, you do that sometimes, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, sometimes you've done things like that before. And I'm like, I'm so like I did not. And it's something that's just like sometimes like having it not, in someone else's shoes in something, looking from the outside
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is
absolutely.
always the best way to see a situation. It's not from in it, but from, kind of looking in,
Yeah,
maybe the top corner of the room,
we're
like a
so
security camera.
yeah, we're so good at like making excuses for ourselves, I think, and for justifying because when we do something, everything we do, we have a reason for doing it. Whether or not it's justified, we always have a reason for doing it. So when people point things out, like vocally, they go, "Hey, you did this." You go, "No, no, no, I did that because of this. I did it because of this." You don't understand the circumstances. But then when like you're forced to watch yourself do it through Scott Pilgrim or something, or you're forced to watch, the situation happen to two people that you are emotionally invested in, you just go, oh man, I see what happened now. I see where I was wrong, or I see why what happened. It's weird. It's weird, and it's uncomfortable, but I think it's good. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's good, and I think that I honestly, the more I grow up, the more I'm just obsessed with art. I know that sounds pretentious. I don't mean it in like the well, maybe it is a pretentious way, but like I don't mean it in the way of like, oh, I want to critique art, and it just brings people together, and I just want more
Yeah,
people to
that's my
just
thing is like I wanna talk and like discuss art,
yeah.
But I don't want to like I don't care about if it's good or like I don't know what something being good anymore is
No,
on a
same.
critical level. because like I mean I've said it before, I enjoyed Justice League and
Dude, that
like
movie rocked. I don't care what anyone says.
that movie's fucking great, my man. Like
I was so surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was so surprised when the reviews came out. I cheered at the cinema, dude. It was all right. I'm not.
it was so fucking
I'm gonna
dope.
I'll let you
And
carry on.
but yeah, and so I'm much more interested in, I don't know if this sounds super pretentious too, but just like feeling
Yeah,
art
absolutely.
and like especially I mean with Persona 5, which is something that I did not think I would be as into as I am,
Yeah.
to the point that I've like written multiple fan fictions on Tumblr about characters.
Yeah.
And it's honestly a never talk shit about fan fiction ever.
Yeah. I mean, we
Ever,
just a recap of
'cause,
last week. Don't talk shit about
oh
fan
my
fiction.
God, like the amount of confidence I felt getting back into writing, just seeing people liking my dumb posts about
Yeah.
two characters gardening together,
Yeah.
I really love that story. That was a really good one.
I think as well as again, not to make this about fan fiction again, but like people always they mix up enjoying with it being bad or
Yeah,
shitting on. I think shitting on is a better one. I think enjoying
yeah,
and shitting on is very different. There has been bad fan fiction that I've enjoyed the hell out of, right? Like
yeah.
bad fan fiction. And I think it's completely fine to enjoy that on a level of, oh my god, this is so funny. But then you don't have to shit on it to do that. You can enjoy it in a way that is like, wow, this is crazy, this is mad, this is like we used to have a show where we used to read fan fiction that was like, the weirdest, craziest fan fiction we could find. But it wasn't in a way of like this is terrible. It was a way of like what is going through this person's head? Like it's insane. And it's something to be celebrated, I think. But yeah, I just carry on about your point. I'm sorry I had to
Oh,
tangent, but I love bad fan fiction so much, but I hate it when people
me,
go,
oh, I,
this is terrible, like, and start
yeah.
shitting on the writer.
It's I don't know. That's something that someone poured themselves into, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't know. Especially recently, I'm like, I don't know why I ever tried to review things. I don't like reviewing things. I don't enjoy it. I'm not that. That's not how I've learned. I've had to learn.
Dude, I think it's
I
because
learned a lot about myself.
we wanted to talk about art when we were younger. We
We
really
didn't
wanted
know
to,
how,
and we just didn't know. The only way we knew how was how everyone else was doing it, which is with
which is
reviewing.
this is bad. I don't like it. This
Yeah.
is good because the characterization or the plot or whatever bullshit like Ebert and Roper like.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting because reviewing is such a I do enjoy it. But it gets to a point now where
I enjoy people who are good at it. Like
well, not even that, but
I think there's an art form to it.
there's definitely an art form to it, but I just think it needs to move to a place, and a lot of people are doing this, where it's more of a personal thing. Because if someone says, I personally did not enjoy this movie, as opposed to, this movie is a bad movie, there's one of those statements which I'm going to be more attracted to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, the more I grow up, the more I watch, the more I enjoy, the more I disagree with the general populace on some stuff, the more I realize that, like, is there such thing as a bad movie? Like, is there
I think there.
is there a movie that is generally not liked and generally considered to be unenjoyable? Yes.
Yeah,
But is there not someone that will enjoy it? Like, Birdemic is a perfect example of a movie that I love that is not a good movie
yeah.
by normal standards, but I still enjoy it for the reasons that... But does that not make it a good movie?
Yeah, that's a weird. I mean, art's subjective.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea is
Yeah.
that art is very subjective. Like there are things. I mean, Watchmen, critically acclaimed, one of the industries. Like you hold this as an example of like the gospel.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
at all.
Like, and I
And
don't
like,
begrudge you for that. Like, even though
yeah,
I disagree, there's no reason why we can't just go, yeah, okay.
well, yeah. I mean, we're two rational human beings. I like to think so. Um, but I don't. This is gonna get very deep and personal. I
Okay,
guess it's what we're doing now.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But
If you've
like,
got time.
yeah, I've gotten to this weird point, um, where like I've had to learn a lot about myself in a short amount of time. I feel
Okay.
like in like years.
Okay.
Um, and still getting there, obviously, because none of us are perfect.
You're never done, yeah.
Yeah, you're never done learning. But I very much had to learn, I don't know, how to like express and how to like enjoy.
Okay.
Because I got to a point where like I don't know if it was just the internet culture at the time,
Yeah.
but especially like at a young impressionable age, like high school,
Mm.
where just like I would watch a review of something, and if that person didn't like it, I'd go to the movie and
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
sit down and hate it. And I really got to a point where I just realized like, what do I personally need out of something rather than um, what is everyone else getting out of it?
Yeah, it's just, it's also like, I think that to say that a movie is I'm just going to talk about movies, and I mean this. I'm talking about a lot, but just to simplify it in my head, I'm going to say movies because it's what I want to make, and it's probably the thing I'm most passionate about. Like, to say that a movie's goal is to be a good movie, I think is reductive, and maybe that is a goal of a lot of filmmakers. That when they make a film, they go, "I want this to be a generally considered good film," and they probably do. They'd like that. I'd like to think that most filmmakers would like their film to be a considered a good movie. That's probably something they
Yeah,
want. But the goal of the film, the more that I learn about films and the more that I study films, through uni and also through just by watching them, is I realize they just someone who is passionate about film is probably just trying to tell you something. Is probably just trying to have a discussion with you through the screen. And whether or not it's a good film, that is all subjective. It's
yeah,
something that like they can't control. They can't do a certain combination of things to make everyone love their film. You know, there are trends that people like. But if you look at movies from like 20 years ago that are considered classics, they don't line up with why we love the
yeah,
movies that come out now. There's like these weird trends that you have to catch. If you put a movie out at the right time, then maybe people will like it. And then if it makes money, that's a whole separate issue. Like
yeah.
everyone
Well,
loves
and that's
Blade
an
Runner 2.
interesting thing. There's this someone said, I forgot who said it. They're just like the line "Show me the money" from Jerry Maguire
Yes.
is only a good line in that moment with that right lighting, with that right actor, with that right cut, with that right editing.
Yeah.
It takes a perfect storm for something to be. There are like good lines in good movies that are hidden in really shitty
Yeah. Yeah.
editing,
Yeah. Yeah.
in really shitty films, and that are there. So it's weird, to be like, well, that's objectively bad. It's like, no, I'm sure like that's why. Here's, related back to geeky stuff, the prequels of Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that the story arc of Obi-Wan and Anakin and the fight on Mustafar and when he's screaming that like you were my brother
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that he loved him, that is some good shit.
Yeah.
That is
Definitely.
some really good
Absolutely.
storytelling. Now the package it's a different story. It might not be the best package in the world.
But that's what I
But
get
so
too,
for
because
someone
it's
to
like so many
yeah,
people love that package, package
yeah,
and all, Jar Jar, everything. Then who am I to be 16-year-old Cameron being like, if you like the prequels, you're dumb? Like, what does that even mean? Like I just don't understand why I thought that way. And like you said, you have to make decisions, and you go, do I want to be the person that is forged by the internet? You know?
Yeah.
Do I want to be the guy that goes, well, Jeremy Jahns didn't like this movie, so I don't like this movie? You know?
Yeah.
Like, even Jeremy Jahns, like, I'm only mentioning him because I know we both watch him. Like,
Yeah.
he's gone out and said, you don't have to agree with me. But people still go, well, I have to watch Jeremy Jahns' review, and then I'll go to the cinema, and then I'll decide. But I said, no, you've ruined your experience now. Like,
And that's something that I think I had to learn with being creative too,
Yeah,
which was honestly like it's an easy thing to say of like, oh, don't do it just to be successful.
mm.
Of course I want to do it just to be fucking successful. Do I love it? Yes, but of course do I want the people to know and to read and to tell me how great and amazing I am
Yeah.
and like all that stuff. But I had to learn, especially with writing, to just write what made me happy.
Yeah, and write what you want people to know, you know?
Yeah,
Not what,
and so that
what you
was a
think people
weird.
want to know.
It's an easy thing to say, but for the longest time, it just was hard in practice.
Yeah,
And it's something that I've just recently, I think, started to learn again. Hell, I was writing last night, and it felt amazing.
yeah.
I didn't. I just breezed through one of my old stories, like the first chapter of it. I just bam, I was done because I stopped worrying about what the end goal was and just put on some smooth jazz, started going.
Um, I, God, we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah,
I wanted to just, I just love it so much. I love talking about this stuff so much because it really is why. It is why we started that Green Lantern review chain. Because, you know, whether or not we knew it back then, this is like history of Jon and Cameron,
yeah,
isn't
the
it?
history of John.
But like,
Old. This is now. Let's paint the picture for you. Old YouTube. Before all the updates, back when it was the Partners program, back when
yeah.
100 subscribers got you into the Partners program.
But it's like, you know, we didn't want to talk about, we didn't want to review the movie, you know? Like we said we wanted to review the movie, but then why did we talk about it so much leading up to the film? It was because we wanted to talk about art. We wanted to talk about how the trailers made us feel, how the comics, the Green Lantern comics, changed us and how they forged us, you know. But for some reason we couldn't just say that because it's not the right thing to do. It's not the right. And now in the age of the video essay, it's slowly becoming more and more of a thing that people are just realizing that you don't need to. You can just love something and just enjoy it and just like one of my favorite mangas of all time, right? And if I was a teenager, I can even put myself in teenage Cameron's shoes and feel embarrassed by saying this, but I don't feel embarrassed now because it's just silly to be embarrassed. There's this really, really nice, really short manga series called Girlfriends. It is honestly one of the best things I think has ever been created and put on this earth. It is so nice. It is just these two thick, you know, thick manga. Have you ever seen one of those volumes?
Yeah,
Where sometimes it's like 3 volumes
thick,
in one. Yeah, with 2 C's.
thick.
It's just 2 of those, and it ends. It's got a beginning, a middle, and end. Which is perfect
That's
because
beautiful.
manga goes on forever. And
Yeah.
at some point, I'm gonna buy you them. I don't know when because I think you'd enjoy them more than anyone else in my
It
life.
sounds like I can already tell I probably would.
Yeah. So it's just this story about very similar to Supergirl, where it deals with serious issues, but in a not so dramatic and dramatic, you know, dramatic way. Even less dramatic than Supergirl, I think, because it's basically about this girl who, in the first thick with 2 C's thick volume, she realizes that she's gay. And at the end of the volume, she comes to terms with it. And then the second volume is about it switches perspective to the girl that she likes, and that girl and the reaction to, you know, this thing that she's never had any experience with. She's never had any experience. We've been talking a lot about like about gay issues and stuff. 2 white straight men talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But what
I
I'm talking
feel
about is like it's just such a nice, simple premise. It's not. There's no massive homophobic characters in it. They don't have to overcome these massive odds. There's a little bit of homophobia in it because the creator wanted to touch on what it's like, and that's obviously part of the story, and that's actually part of the experience of being gay. But it's not to the point where you have to really feel like it hurts, there's never that point. There's just these sad moments where sometimes, there's a little bit of homophobia and you go, oh, that shouldn't exist, man. Why is that there? But other than that, it's this cute story about a girl who falls in love with a girl. And that's basically it. That's the whole story. And I love it so much. And I think it's so perfect. And every page just makes me smile. And it's so innocent. And there's nothing that anyone can say that makes me not feel like I can't love that more than The Dark Knight. Like, I love The Dark Knight, but this comic is better than The Dark Knight to me. Just to me. And that shouldn't be a weird thing to say, even though, like, it's such a common thing to be like, oh, well, that's not proper, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? It's just weird that as a teenager, I'd be so embarrassed to say that. And
I had to learn to love slice of life anime and to not feel like I used to watch like Orin High School Host Club.
Oh, I've heard a lot about that. There's a lot of good things about that.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. And like me and my wife loves Fruits Basket. I love Fruits Basket too.
I had a friend in uni who she constantly got so angry at me because I didn't like Fruits Basket. She was like, how many times have you watched the pilot episode? I was like, I've watched it 2 times. She's like, you need to watch it a 3rd time. She was really angry about it.
Just skip the pilot episode.
I don't know.
It gets much better once they introduce like the rest of the family.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. Though again, not begrudging people who enjoy it. I think it's amazing that you enjoy it. I wish I enjoyed it as much as you and her enjoy Fruits Basket.
But I had to learn to like, I don't know, just stop giving a shit about what people feel about like what I like, especially with Justice League, because
dude, I don't understand.
I just literally walked into work. Well, I walked into work and I was like, hey guys, I liked it. And then there were a lot of people who were like, I liked it too. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, this isn't the internet. I forgot. People are going to jump down my throat. But no one really did. That was the surprising thing. But then I also realized that like I'm not popular, so like that probably makes sense as to why like nobody gave a shit about my opinion.
Here's the thing, right? We've been talking real deep. We've been talking real deep, and I appreciate it, and I really enjoy stuff like this. It's one of the main things that really upsets me that we don't like live close to each other, because like we have discussions that deserve to be at like 3 a.m. in my like living room, sitting opposite each other, like really tired, like that's the type of discussions that we have on Skype. But like, let me just bring it back to the surface for Justice League, and we'll just bring this will be the rounding point. Justice League is different for me because I can see why it's easy for people to look at something like That Girlfriend's manga and just immediately write it off based on societal things of like things that are cute, things that are, about young people, things that are directed at young adults. You shouldn't enjoy it, blah, 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 right? So there's that. And I disagree with those, but I can see where they come from. I don't understand what was wrong with Justice League. I'm not saying that it deserves to be Watchmen. I'm not saying it deserves to be The Dark Knight. I'm not saying that it was like a movie worthy of an Oscar. Why was it a terrible movie? No one has been able to point that out to me. Like, I don't understand.
That's so weird. Like, I don't know if I justify it to myself or whatever. But whenever someone says, like, I don't know about editing. I'm not a film guy. So
okay.
You can say the editing's bad. I don't know what that means. But then there's things like, oh, well, I mean, what did Cyborg even do? And I'm like, I felt that Cyborg and Flash had like a really sweet scene together where they talked about how they were both accidents and how they both like were like Frankenstein's monsters, everything. Like, I thought they had an emotional connection. Oh yeah, well, Steppenwolf was a boring villain. I'm like, well, sure, yeah. I mean, he was, I guess, but like,
as much of
that's not the point of the movie, though. The movie's not about the villain.
He's a force of nature. Like, if you like Avengers, like
the story didn't really make like the whole like, you get the three mother mother boxes, and then you put them together to make a big mother box. Whatever. I mean,
But how is
if you
that
really
any
think about
different
it,
to
so
the
Loki goes
exactly?
into
Oh my
cute, and then well, first he brainwashes all these people, then
Which
he
okay,
kidnaps.
okay.
No, sorry, he steals the Cute. No, he gets kidnapped by the Avengers, and then he steals the Cute, and then he lets the Chitauri. Huh?
It's like no criticism towards the Avengers. I think it was a fine movie. It's a great movie. Why is that okay? Like
Yeah.
why is it that is okay yet Justice League is garbage? It does. If you just comparing the two movies, because let's be fair, that's what they are. It's the Avengers of the DC universe. It's the same. I don't understand. I would argue that the characters were more likable in the Justice League. There were more characters in Avengers that, yeah, they acted cool. Like Hawkeye acted cool, but I didn't know anything about him. I didn't care about him, you know? Like, I don't understand. It was such a fun movie with a capital F and a capital U and a capital N and an exclamation point. Why is that such a bad thing? Why, like, I understand. Wonder Woman was a masterpiece. Wonder Woman was a good film. It used filmmaking techniques. Yeah, cool. I loved Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman is a great film. Justice League doesn't need to be that. It can just be a fun movie. Why is that so bad?
I just don't like. Okay, me and my wife were watching this movie, right? We were sitting down, leaned back. I had a large vanilla cherry Coca-Cola
Oh, damn.
in in the left cup holder in the seat. I just want to paint the picture for you.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Jason Momoa, Aquaman, my man, is talking to Bruce Wayne, right? He's walking, they're talking. Aquaman starts taking his shirts off.
Such a good scene.
And then he dives into the water. And I turned and looked to my wife and I said, Christina, did you hear anything they were talking about? And she said, no. And I said, me neither. How can you see that and think it's a bad movie?
It was so good. It was so good. Right, so preface this. Jenny's favorite superhero of all time before she watched the second season of Supergirl was The Flash. And she still very much is more in love with the Flash in the comics because Supergirl doesn't have a lot of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, Supergirl's she's got her arcs, but it's not like the Flash. With the Flash, you can pick up a Flash comic from any era, and it's always going to be fun, you know. So she loves the Flash, and she really really loves the Flash. She's got a Flash wallet. She's got in school, you obviously can't, as a teacher, you can't wear showy clothes, but she found this shirt. So it's this nice white shirt, and it looks like it's got yellow dots on it. But if you look real close, it's tiny little Flash logos.
Oh, that's so dope.
So she was like, I'm gonna low key be a Flash fan. I have never seen someone with so much childlike wonder than the credits rolling for Justice League and looking over at Jen's face. It's making me tear up a little bit. I'm such a fucking sentimental prick. But she was so excited. She was just like, he's getting his own movie. And I was like, yeah, he's getting his own movie. Oh, she was just so happy. And I was like, this is what movies are supposed to be. This is what superhero comics do. This is, I felt in that moment watching the Justice League, I felt when I was 16 and I used to watch when I was 16. When I was 12 and I used to watch the X-Men cartoon, the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Yeah.
On reruns and stuff. And I used to watch the Superman show, the one that was done by Bruce Timm. It was just wonder. It was just fun, and I loved that the Flash was just pushing people because he's not Barry Allen, who for some reason learns how to fight. Not Barry Allen, Grant Gustin. You know, I love the Flash TV show. It's fun, but you got to admit this is a more realistic version of the Flash. He doesn't know how to fight. He just pushes people, and John, I know it's no point now because we both agree on this, but dude, it was so much fun, and just
it's so much fun, and I'm so upset that I don't know the whole. I don't need a universe. I really don't need it. I think it's cool, but I am upset that I just feel like these side movies aren't really going to happen. And I'm like, but I do want to see like more of these actors. I think they're great.
I think
I
that
enjoy Ben Affleck.
I see as much as people um talk about how Ben Affleck doesn't enjoy the role and how he's unhappy with it and all that. You can't see that in his Justice League performance. He's playing this fun like post dark Batman where like he feels like he really does feel like he used to be the dark Batman and now he's turning into like the Bruce Timmish like a little bit cheeky. You know what I
Yeah,
mean when I say Bruce Tim like the kind of the Batman that smiles sometimes,
yeah.
like and like his his eyes when he gets Superman back, like he's just it's just so cute. He's just like, yay, I did
Yeah.
it.
Which this is okay. I'm talking straight
Hello, John.
to these mother. You still there?
Oh, yeah, no, I thought you were talking to me.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking straight to these motherfuckers out there. Not you, dear listener, but you, angry internet troll.
Okay, you should tweet
I don't
this.
know how you can sit there and see Henry Cavill fly off screen, say, sorry, it's gonna tear me up a little bit. I believe in truth. I'm a big fan of justice too. Punch to the face. Motherfucker, that is Superman. That is fucking Superman.
Oh, dude, it was so good.
And also, as much as people gave the CGI mustache thing shit, which I'm a bad moviegoer, I couldn't see.
I couldn't see it, and I make films.
Yeah. But did you see the Mission Impossible 6 trailer? Because I am glad they did not shave that mustache off. His mustache was fucking great. He
Dude,
looks dope in that movie.
I think that before the movie, I was worried because I was like, oh man, they're gonna have to CG it and stuff. But my only thought now after the movie, my only regret of Justice League, knowing the tone of that film and how fun it was compared to, like, other DC films, I really wish they'd just left him with a mustache. Somehow he grew a mustache while he was dead. Just, I
Oh
don't
my
even
God.
care.
And if he had like longer hair too, and they're just like, all right. And then he just like,
Because
I don't know.
the
But he
Superman with a
looks,
mustache would have been amazing, and it would have fit the tone of this film.
and then also like all of the Superman stuff was so good, and the stuff with Ma Kent,
Yeah.
which she said thirsty. Ma Kent made a thirsty joke. Are
I
you
was
kidding me?
dead. Dude, this is my
I
experience of
died.
the
Me and
film.
Christina both died in the movie theater.
It was, dude. It was the most movie-going experience I've ever had in my life. It was so
Yeah.
fun. There was so many moments where I was like, my ass was out of my seat, and like my body was suspended by my arms on the
Literally, I
armchairs.
did that like when you're slapping the
Yeah.
hand next to you thing. When like I saw the Green Lantern come on screen,
Oh,
and I'm like,
dude, and then his ring
it's
flies
like, is
up.
that a Green Lantern? I'm like, yes, it's a Green Lantern.
It was like, it was just, and again, we have to preface this. We're very much DC fans, like, but like
Yeah.
the thing, I love the Avengers. I really do love that first movie. I've gone back and watched it a couple of times. It's just a good action movie. It's got good Joss Whedon dialogue.
Winter Soldier is still one of my favorite.
Yeah,
I mean, I Thor Ragnarok was amazing.
yeah. But
If
the
you go to
thing,
my Twitter, I tweeted out this
what did
this
you tweet?
no, it was this I retweeted. It was this kind of this thread about going back 10 years ago
Okay.
because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like 10 years old now.
Yeah.
Going back to 2008 and how crazy of an idea this was, and how they were betting everything on C-list heroes that nobody cared about,
Yeah.
and actors that weren't proven quantities, and how that became what it is now.
Yeah. It's fucking mad.
So it's a really good thread if you want to check it out.
But like, and I love the Avengers. I think it was a really fun. It's just such a fun. I remember going to see it and just seeing that circle for the first time when they all land, and you just go, oh, they're all together. It was so cool. But like, there was always a part of me, and again, maybe I'm losing my argument loses credit when I say this, but like, I don't care. There was always a part of me watching that Avengers when they spin around, where I looked at Captain America, I looked at Iron Man, I looked at Hulk, not Thor. I looked at Black Widow. I looked at those four characters, and I was just like, dude, I don't know who these are, you know? Like, I know the
Yeah.
movies, I've seen the films, and I've read a couple comics, but like, other than like Hawkeye and Thor, like I didn't know who really these other characters are, and I didn't
I was
have
like,
like this
let's.
emotional attachment to them. So I get it. I enjoyed the movie, and as a comic book fan, I was
Yeah.
like, "This is cool." But when you see the Justice League, and you see your boys, and you see your girl, like you just see them in screen, and they're happy. Like seeing them happy, seeing Batman happy was so. It
It
was just
was
like,
one of those things where it's about all about enjoyment and and how you go.
yeah,
And like I went and saw that movie and I was like, honestly, that felt like a 3 issue arc
yeah,
in one of the comics. That's literally what it felt like. It had
yeah.
the same dialogue. It had the same like, hey, what's the plot? Whatever. Darkseid's doing some shit. I mean, who cares? Like, just the Justice League is gonna go do Justice League shit. And I'm
Dude,
sorry, guys. As much as I love comics and I love comics that are thoughtful and thought-provoking,
yeah.
a lot of times I don't remember what the fuck the supervillain's doing. A lot of times it's like, what's I love Batman R.I.P. Love
Yes.
it to death.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah, yeah.
greatest Batman stories of all time. I could not tell you what the Black Glove's fucking plan was,
At some point, he
or what
tries
the
to.
Joker's plan was, or like I don't. The Zuranar is a thing,
Yeah,
but
at
there's a
some
whole lot
point,
going. Like,
the Black Glove tries to convince Batman that he's Thomas Wayne, which is fucking crazy. But
like,
it's so
like
fun.
plots are not what I go for when I go in. Like, I'm sorry, I just want to see these characters. I
Dude,
want to see
yeah,
them have.
that's what it is. It's a character. I think that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. It's the love of the character and seeing the character be that character and enjoy being that character and
And
just
I'm a DC apologist fanboy.
I know, but like, come on, dude, that movie was fun as fuck. Like,
It was so fun.
Batman has right. I
I
saw a
am not
guy.
saying it just because we're talking about Justice League. I legitimately quote my man all the time.
Yeah, but like, also, right, some guy I was talking to was saying that the movie was dumb, and at first I take issue with dumb because like, well, what? Like, they made the movie. They knew what they did. It was not like they were trying to make a deep movie. If you watch the movie, it's not like they're trying to trick you into coming to see like a Dark Knight movie. They knew they were making a fun film, you know?
Yeah, literally
Like,
the trailer was
exactly.
like,
You think My Man is in the trailer? It might be. But like,
yeah,
he
I
goes
think
to me.
it is. Yeah.
This is a criticism of his. He goes, why does Batman have a machine that's only purpose is to crawl up and down tunnels? That's stupid. That's a criticism of the film. And I go, okay, well, here's the thing I think was good about the film. Batman has a machine that all it can do is climb up and down tunnels. How is that not the funnest thing you've... That is... How is that a criticism of this movie? That is... I would see the movie if that was the only thing in the trailer.
God.
What was
Or
that
like,
machine for? Batman, where were you keeping it for all these years?
or like this scene where it's like, hey, look, it's your signal. It's a bad signal. Oh shit, sorry. That means we have to go now, doesn't it?
And Flash being the only one who didn't disappear. So
You're like,
good.
oh, that's rude.
Yeah, oh my god. Even, and I know, I don't understand why, everyone was saying this, and I agree. Why was that guy in the gym for so long? Why was J.K. Simmons getting buff? But, like, he still kills it as Gordon. He's still a
Yeah.
great Gordon, even though he doesn't use any of those skills he learned when he was, like, in the gym getting real buff to be James Gordon. But, like, he's just still, like,
Okay with it. And also, like, I'm sorry. In Justice League, fuck yeah. Lex Luthor with Deathstroke.
oh my god,
I'm
dude.
game.
You know, right, just... I mean, I don't even have to describe it to you. You know me so well. You know what my reaction
Yeah.
was. I
How do you feel
avoided
about
that.
Joe Manganiello?
He looked cool. He had the white
He did.
hair. He had the fucking
He
white
did.
hair. He had the white
I'm
hair.
surprised he had the white hair.
The only thing is, again, the robot mask. I know it's not a robot mask, but like
Yeah.
paintball mask, I guess you'd call it. Still, I get it. People don't. But still, I mean, I can get over the robot mask because he has the white hair. He has a cool eye patch. There's like a cool,
Yeah.
interesting eye patch. He's got the beard, and like he talked like I expect Slade to talk. Like, dude, I don't know. And maybe they could even give him the ninja costume if he gets a movie. Like, this might be his first and last
Yeah,
appearance of Deathstroke. But
and
like,
that's probably the worst thing about it is just the rest of the universe getting scrapped. But
well, I don't think the rest of the universe is going to be completely scrapped because Wonder Woman is still widely considered,
yeah,
a success, both money wise, but also like it was a
cultural.
fantastic film. Like I don't know how you felt about it, but like I really really enjoyed
I
it.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
Um, I still, it's just a part of the nature of the character, but the Steve Trevor thing for me always, I
I see.
just, I thought Steve Trevor was done well, but like, it does this thing that a lot of times, I say this a lot, but a lot of times I wish media wouldn't do, where they fucking pull that trigger. They pull it so hard, so quick. The like, I love you. Well, God,
Yeah.
motherfucker, it's been like 3 days, bro. Like, I get it. That's a dumb excuse, but like,
No, no,
and
I
it's
get
just a
it.
thing where it's
It's
like I
also
don't think her story, I think it lessens the impact of her love for mankind as a whole if it because it just feels like, oh, well, this cute guy that liked me died, so like
yeah.
or like I get the whole like he sacrificed himself and that's like him showing to her that, but I think if he had just been like, hey, we should go hang out sometime.
Yeah, I
Or
don't
just
know.
not the I love you, but just like, hey, you got this. Like, don't worry about me. I'll be okay. Just know that I believe in you. And then he goes to the plane and
Hmm.
he,
I don't know. It's an interesting thing because I think that I understand where you're coming from. I totally understand where you're coming from. This goes back to what I was saying before, but we were saying before about like movies being subjective. Like I see where you're coming from, and I totally get that. And like I've had that with other things because my personal experience with love is that it seems silly to be able to fall in love with someone in 3 days. It does. But I also think that the way they handle his character, when I was watching the film, and I know that everyone else didn't have, not everyone else, but like a lot of other people didn't have this experience. But I really think that to me anyway, he was quite interesting because it felt to me like he was kind of an avatar for us, in a sense. But not like a traditional avatar in the sense that he just watched everything, because he was a big participant in the kind of in the plot, and he did a lot of things that a lot of avatar characters wouldn't do, because they want to keep them back so that the audience can relate to them. But just these moments in the movie where he very much expresses what we're feeling watching it, especially on Themyscira, like and I really appreciated that about his character. So when he falls in love with her, the circumstances again are a bit weird because again, like it's 3 days, and again, why would she fall in love with him? That she's got no, like even at the beginning of the movie, she expresses like men are useless, and she still believes that, even though she wants to save mankind. She says in the boat that like men are useless,
yeah,
So it is weird how quickly she falls for him. But there is also, and again, maybe it's how attracted or not you are to Chris Pine. But like when he's dancing with her, I got
I
that
mean,
kind of
I'm just saying, I would feel some feelings.
yeah, and
Definitely.
I'm trying to compare it to something that's very specific. Shoot, maybe it's Avatar, but there's that like plot thing of people who are displaced in time or in a different world.
Yeah.
Starfire, I guess Starfire and Robin would be one, where like Robin always
Mhm.
has to show Starfire and explain things to her that she doesn't quite understand.
Yeah, it's
And
like a teacher thing, kind of, but
yeah, and,
like
and then in
also,
turn, Starfire like teaches him about things about her culture, and it's like this exchange of things. That
yeah,
always to me really gets me for some reason. I don't know why. I just really like that idea of two people from completely different worlds, and they bond over their differences. And I think Steve Trevor. I think that if they'd got a less charismatic actor, because honestly, controversial hot topic opinion, I think he's the best of all the Chris's.
oh,
And yeah,
wow,
I
that's
know
gonna be our
there's deep
next topic,
cuts, there's
motherfucker.
deep cuts, but also
Holy
if
shit.
they got a less charismatic actor, but also if they didn't have him be such a champion of Wonder Woman, you know, he doesn't spend the
Yeah.
movie like like being like, "Oh, don't do that because I'll do it," you know? Like he doesn't do any of
Yeah.
that. And when he kills himself, it's because he's like, this is such an important thing. I need to do this because you're far more important. You need to fight the bad guy. You need to do the thing that I could not do. You know, I'm only doing this because it's the side. He knows he's a secondary character to her, which I think I
Yeah.
appreciated. But there is very much. I can see the complaints people have. Jen, the first time she watched it, really got disappointed by that and by
Yeah, that
how.
was my wife, Christina, too.
Yeah, she did. She really didn't like how Steve Trevor was almost like he was the damsel in distress, but the way I explained to her and the way that she kind of came around when we watched it the second time is, I see him as like what the damsel in distress should be. The only awkward part is that he's a man, and that he's a
Yeah.
perfect damsel in distress, but he's a man. Like if you put a woman in his position, right? Say it was Wonder Woman and she fell in love with, I don't know, Stacey Trevor, like. If you do that and she's a damsel in distress, but she does all the things that Steve Trevor does, she still counts as a damsel in distress, but she's also a good one, you know,
Yeah,
one
an
that makes
active
sense, an
participant
active
in the story.
participant. So the
Yeah.
problem is that because he's a man, it feels, and it kind of is a little bit sexist, because the first
Yeah.
good damsel distress in a superhero movie ended up being a man, you know, so it's a little bit awkward in that sense. But I do think that they paved the way for that role to become a bit more interesting, to become a bit more of an active participant, like you said. I just think they should have done it with a woman, and maybe in a different film that didn't, well, it wasn't the first female superhero led film. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Which,
know.
I mean,
I
come on,
get it though,
guys.
dude.
We're
Well,
counting down the
hopefully
wire here.
Captain
If we
Marvel
can
is
get
going to
some
be
more
great. Hopefully, um, hopefully,
this potential Black Widow
Widow,
movie,
really? Are you
which I'm like,
interested in
you
that?
should have did that in like 2013.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
love
mean, I
Scarlett
was
Johansson.
saying that
She's
we
one of my
should have gotten
favorite
a Black Widow
actresses.
movie after Winter Soldier
Yeah,
because that was when she really shined, was in that movie, I
yeah.
think for the first time.
I
Um,
I think
but I don't need it now.
it could be good. It depends which direction they take it. What I'm kind of feel awkward about now, especially with the Marvel Universe, is I'm kind of in this weird place where I'm super excited for Black Panther, right? Super, super excited for Black
Yeah.
Panther. Can't wait. It comes out late here for some reason, but yeah, you know,
Mm,
excited for it. But next is Infinity War, right? Now,
yeah.
I even got the scoop on Infinity War. I know just as little as everyone else, but I know Infinity Stones don't exactly leave the universe in the same place it was. So it's hard for me to get excited when there's a very big potential that the universe is going to be completely different for a couple of years. You know?
I'm very curious on how the next phase of movies
Yeah, like,
go. Well, the weird thing is we have Infinity War and then Ant-Man and Wasp.
yeah. So like, is Ant-Man and Wasp gonna be? I don't know. It's just this weird thing, and I don't know if you have this too, where I'm just like, we've got no like clue how Infinity War Part One's going to end, and if I was writing it, I would end it in a crazy where Thanos grips the glove, and all of a sudden the world explodes. You know, that's what I would
Oh
do.
yeah. I mean, my thing is like, I'm calling it Tony's dead.
Yeah,
Tony's
if
dying. The
not
movie,
Part One, Part
the
Two.
MCU started with Tony. It needs to end this version of the MCU
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Tony. Um, I am going to be very excited to see these characters together. Um, I think it's going to be great. I'm
Yeah,
curious about
I'm
the
sure
next
it'll be great,
phase
but I just
because
don't know.
I feel like it. My thing is like they've built up such a good secondary team of heroes
Yeah,
that if we do lose the main squad, I think we can rebuild with,
yeah,
Tom Holland but the problem, one of my major things is, I think, with what's become of the MCU, I love Benedict Cumberbatch,
yeah,
but like I feel like we need more actors like Tom Holland. More people who aren't as well known,
yeah,
who are younger, who can maybe do because it's like, all right, well we got Cumberbatch. I don't know how many more movies we got of him. I mean, Chadwick Boseman's amazing. I hope he stays forever.
yeah.
Black Panther. Sebastian Stan. All right, well, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., they're getting up there a little bit.
Yeah, they're leaving, I
Chris
think.
Hemsworth, I'm not sure. I mean, he looks amazing all the time, but you never
Well,
know
I
how
think
much longer you got.
Hemsworth. I think all three of them, except for Hulk, because he hasn't got his own movie yet. I don't think they
Yeah.
want to do it anymore. I think that I
I
think
think Hemsworth said because of Ragnarok, he maybe wants to pursue more, but I'm pretty
yeah,
sure Evans and Downey Jr. are done.
yeah.
Which I'm like, all right, cool. Are we getting, you know, Bucky Cap?
Bucky Cap,
Maybe
Falcon Cap, maybe.
Falcon Cap,
Probably
one or
not
the other.
Falcon Cap. I would prefer Falcon Cap, but
I would, but
probably
I don't think they've built up Falcon enough for him
no,
to.
no. They probably go Bucky just because of how the movies have played out, which I respect. Like
Yeah.
they had him with the shield even, um, in
Yeah.
that one scene.
And then also there's I do think this is a theory I'm stealing from somebody else,
Okay.
but Cap's gonna get his hand on the time gem, transport back, dance with Peggy,
That was a theory for
and
Captain America, Avengers 1, like way back
mm,
when. That was because people
yeah,
thought it was the Time Stone.
and in Winter Soldier they say that she has a husband, but we never see him. So maybe Cap goes back in time and is able to
Cap's husband.
live a life with Peggy.
Oh, but that's kind of creepy then because that means that he.
Well, that's the weird thing is I hate that
I
they
hate
did the
it.
Sharon Carter.
I hate it.
I hated it. I love that actress. I think
No,
she's
no, it's
amazing.
nothing wrong with the actress. It's just the character doesn't make
I
any
just
sense.
I just wish they'd given her something. Like she could have been any other female, like any female superhero,
She
because
could have
she's
been
got the
Dove.
chops and the physicality.
Like what start? Because like I know Dove is in Agents of Shield, but they could have just because they could have just made Dove again, or like she's Dove is in
Or
Agents of
any like,
Shield.
or yeah, like so many
No, not
people.
Dove.
They could
Sorry, I'm thinking of
a
DC
Mockingbird.
Mockingbird. Thank
Mockingbird.
you, John. You're
Yeah,
always there for
she
me.
could have been. She would have been a great Mockingbird.
God, I've been thinking
Or
about the Teen
Jessica
Titans TV show.
Drew, a blonde-haired Jessica Drew, or Tara from Teen Titans.
Just
Which,
keep
by the way,
DC
did you
DC
see?
heroes.
Did you see those costumes for the Titans show?
Oh, dude.
Okay, we need to stop eventually.
Right. Tell you what. Tell you what. Let me Google the costumes right now. We're just going to talk about these. Get them up on a
Yeah.
screen, um, and then we'll end it there because it is 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God.
Shows the time difference. It is 9 o'clock at night.
All right. Oh, dude, I just enjoy
I
your
think the
company, man.
costumes look amazing.
Teen
I
Titans
love.
TV show costumes. Costumes. Oh, I hope this shows. You know how much stake I've got in the show, dude.
I know.
I talked to
I
my wife to be,
uh,
and she goes, Cameron, are we gonna watch this show? Are you gonna be able to watch this show?
oh, you know what's going to be also? While you're getting that up,
Yeah.
I'm very excited for Krypton on Sci-Fi.
Really? Are you excited for that? I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know what to feel about it.
I think so because it looks like it's going to be like kind of more hard-boiled sci-fi. Um, you still get like the cool, like obviously Adam Strange is in it, which I think is kind of
That
a
is
deep
cool.
cut reference. It's pretty cool. And you get like, I think the time travel premise instantly like brings stakes to where there isn't usually. And it's like, all right, cool. I get my Superman stuff without necessarily having it be and also the main actor um is like one of the kind of he's a fan of some of the same media that I'm a fan of,
Oh, that's cool.
like kind of funny and stuff. So that's cool. So if anything, I'll give it a shot. I want to like it.
All right. Have you got all the costumes? Because right now all I've got is Hawk and Dove, and I've got Robin.
I think that's all the ones that have been
Okay,
announced.
fair enough. So I wanted to say
Yeah.
that Robin is interesting because it looks like a Photoshop, but like if that is his costume, it's pretty damn accurate. Like,
The coloring looks great.
yeah, I'm glad
It's
they've gone
very
with the
bright.
green and not black. Like there's a
Yeah.
very there was this thing where Robin was like red and black for a while, but there's like quite clearly like a green thing going on. Um, but then Hawk and Dove, dude, like I mean.
I'm not surprised they went full.
They look better than they look on the page.
They went,
Like,
which I'm curious if they put Hawk and Dove in this too.
well, to be fair, I think Dove has always Dove has always felt like she would belong. You know,
Yeah,
they don't have Starfire, right? Am I right in thinking that?
I don't think they've said yet.
No, I think it's we definitely have Beast Boy Raven, which come on, like,
You
yes,
got to.
Robin, Hawk, and Dove.
Okay,
No
that sounds
Cyborg
like a
because
cool
that's
team,
he's just
because
not in the Teen
obviously
Titans now, I guess.
I know
Um,
he's not a Titan anymore, which is breaks my heart.
it breaks my heart, but I do think he's cool on the Justice League.
Yeah,
Like he makes sense, but I just
I think
miss
he
Martian
fits.
Manhunter.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Um, but like just Hawk.
Hawk's a weird one.
Yeah,
Um,
he
I've never liked Hawk as a like I've always it's always been oh Dove's pretty cool. Hawk is
yeah, and is he like the dad of the group or have they aged him down? Like how
I
old
think
is he?
he's aged down. I'm pretty sure him and Dove are probably around the same age.
Okay, I don't
I
know. Maybe
hope
that's
they do like maybe they'll do, and this is very much spitballing, brother sister, and he's like overprotective older brother.
yeah, that could work. I
That
mean,
would be the thing that make them like feel the least like because I really don't want them to do the romantic thing, um, or like I just don't. I don't want them to touch romance at all unless it's Beast Boy and Raven.
oh, dude, you're on me. Dude, this is yeah. Part of me is upset, dude, and this is really petty. Um,
Yes.
but I just always this is such a weird thing, but in my heart, I always thought that I would be the one to make the Teen Titans TV show.
Yeah, right?
It always felt to me like, I don't know if I actually said this to you, because I said this to a couple of people. It just feels like nobody else would be qualified.
Yeah. No. It's like
It's like Marv Wolfman and me, I guess.
yeah.
No, but it's joking aside, but it is a little bit. I'm serious. I just really like those characters, and I really don't. Here's the thing, right? I wrote this series off. I wrote this series off because it was CW, and like if the CW made a show about my favorite characters, I don't think I could forgive them for the things that they do for characters that aren't my
Yeah.
favorite. Like Flash. I love Flash. He's not my favorite character. So when they mess up some things with Flash, I go, that's fine. But then Black Lightning came out, and how good that show is, and that's still the CW. So I was like, this show might be awesome. This show might be a Black Lightning type
I'm
show.
curious how deep the roster is going to go for villains and for because
I don't think they
I'm
should do Deathstroke season one.
I don't well I if it's CW that'd be
Well, no, because Black
because they've
Lightning
done so
isn't
much.
in.
I mean, technically they could be in a different universe
Yeah, because
because with the Flash they've opened up the multiverse.
Yeah, uh,
That's a great thing about the TV show is opening up the multiverse. Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I definitely think that like with Black Lightning, it's very much in its own universe. There's actually a bit in episode 3 where a character is holding a DC comic book. So the DC universe exists as a fictional universe within Black Lightning. So
Yeah.
they're very much trying to distance themselves away from the Arrowverse, I think. I think if they go that route with Teen Titans, if Teen Titans is just Teen Titans and it's nothing else, and maybe if down the line they want to like cross it over with something using the multiple universe thing, yes. But just season one, just keep it to the group. And I personally think is a little bit big, a little bit CG high heavy, but Trigon always made sense to me. Trigon
Yeah.
always made sense as the big bad that brings them all together because you have the original Teen Titans, the reason they got together was because Raven, she went to the Justice League and she goes, listen, I'm a half demon. My demon father is coming to Earth and he's going to destroy you. And the Justice League went, what are you talking about? And they didn't listen to her. So she was like, well, I don't know what to do. So Robin took her aside and said, I'm listening to you. Let's figure out what's going to go on. And that's where the Teen Titans came together. So it makes sense to me to do Trigon as the first season. It's just again, I'm not saying you have to be accurate to the comics, but he makes sense as like a reason why all these misfits would get together and fight.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion, and that's just the opinion of the guy who should be writing the show. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I think it's gonna be great. I'm really excited for it. Hopefully, we get a release date soon.
Hopefully, and I don't know. I feel a bit. I don't know how to feel about this, but like, in my heart of hearts, I know I would enjoy it more, and I would be happy that other people would be enjoying it more if we just got a more diverse cast. You know?
Yeah.
Like that. I know that's something that people are hard
That is
on.
always going to be my issue with 90% of things. I saw the Venom teaser trailer,
Yes.
and I went, "Wow, that's a lot of white people."
Yeah.
It was just something that I'm glad that I've trained myself, but
Yeah.
I'm being more cognizant of these things because I'm just like, why can't if you're gonna have a love interest, just make it any person but a white person.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, try the bare minimum.
It's always this weird thing because I do like to err on the side of there's always a perfect person for the part, you know?
Yeah.
There's always a perfect person for the part. There's always a person that if you look hard enough will just click, and that is the person for the part. You know, because there have been movies where I can't imagine, like Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man, you know? Like, you can't see anyone else. But the thing that made me go, well, come on now, is there are so many good, diverse actors and actresses, and there's so many good, and also, I just think about how, like, the reason I love characters, the reason I love Beast Boy, like, going back to the Teen Titans, is because of how much I saw myself in him. And to just not have that for, 80% of the population, for them just not to have that with the majority of TV shows is just so weird. It's just so... And, it's been such a fun experience watching Supergirl with Jen and having her experience a superhero show in a way that she's never experienced before. It just really brought the point home that I was just like, dude, man, I've just been thinking of this all wrong. Like, it's not... It's about the art, you know? It's not negatively affecting the art. It's not compromising the art so that you can have more diverse cast. Adding the diverse cast is making it more accessible and making it bigger and more inclusive, you know? I don't know. This is a whole other podcast topic. Black Raven, come on, guys. No.
Anything. Hawk and Dove?
Anything.
They could literally be anybody.
Well, Hog and Dove are very white in this image, so...
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, Starfire is in it, and she's black. We just answered our question. We just answered our own question.
I mean, she's an alien, but she is played by... That is really cool that she's played by it. But, see, I get into weird, paradoxes.
Okay.
Where I'm like, oh, it's great, she's played by a black actress. Oh, wait, nope. Why is it that African American actors and actresses are always relegated to alien roles where their skin has to be painted? Oh no! Oh, see, it's a weird cycle. Where I'm just like, A, that's a good thing. B, however, why couldn't they cast it? Yeah, it's weird.
I mean,
the cycle of guilt.
You might be right. I'm looking at this. This is a very white Raven.
I believe Tim Drake, I believe he's the kid who voiced Hero from Big Hero 6. I believe he's Asian. I don't think he's white.
Okay.
I don't believe, if he's the same actor that I think.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. We have a Beast Boy, right? Don't we? I think we have a Beast Boy. Let me look it up now. Teen Titans CW Beast Boy. Oh my god, this is such a boring podcast for a second.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah, if you're gonna hire movie executives out there, if you're listening, TV show executives, anybody, hire Gina Rodriguez because she is the greatest person in the world. She's amazing. She can be all of your superheroes.
Oh my god. Okay, so we do.
Does Beast Boy look rough?
No, I can't see gossip websites. look, I understand they make their money through ads, but like when there's more ads than there is article, I just can't read it. It's just it really
Yeah,
stresses my
it's
eyes
so
out. Look, I'm gonna end this podcast now because I think right now we're just using the podcast to chat, and I appreciate that.
yes,
But
I do too.
it is
But
4 o'clock
it
in the
probably doesn't
morning.
make for a well-polished, enjoyable listen.
Yeah. I really think this is going to be one of those ones that I enjoy listening back to because it reminds me of conversations with my friends. In summary, John, I just wanted to say thank you for being the person that I can talk about all this stuff with and feel like it's never ever boring because you have something to talk about as well. And also just the Justice League was so fun, and talking
It
to
was
you has
great.
reminded me how fun
Oh
it is.
man,
I'm gonna go out
I
and buy the
can't wait for it to
Blu-ray.
come out on DVD.
Oh, is
I
it not
might
out
buy it
yet?
on Blu-ray.
If it's not out yet, I'm gonna be sad now.
At John Johnsick on Twitter, Sickly Geek on Tumblr. Um,
Check it
gotta
out.
plug my shit. And I'm working on something right now, actually,
Ooh, exciting.
which is more book related than fan fiction. So
Oh damn, going back to his old
yeah, we'll talk
projects.
about that offline.
Okay. Thanks for listening. If you did listen, oh wow,
We
oh
appreciate
wow,
you, you
yeah.
kind soul.
I almost guarantee, right? This is how I always see it. Probably not a lot of people are listening, but maybe our kids will go back when we're like really old and listen. And that is how I always think. It's like, geez, like they've got so much like wealth of like conversations between us that they just go,
Yeah, right.
why, our dads were just massive nerds. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in a bit, and John and I are going to chat for probably a bit more. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.